Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hivemind Recap Podcast. September 2024 is behind us, and we have some grand returns, a lot of albums, a number of EPs, some singles. We got a lot of live shows to talk about. Well, the other two do. Well, other three. To be determined later. Yeah, lots to talk about for the past month of new music releases. A lot of big names, a lot of small names as well, making names for themselves. And yeah, I'm really excited. I think there's a lot to talk about this month, especially as we get down the line with some of the albums. So, Justin, Derek, Jacob, how are we all feeling tonight?
You know what?
Derek's sick.
It's unfortunate.
You know what? It is. I went to 5 shows this month and I did not get sick. I am so proud of myself.
That is impressive.
I think this is just unfair at this point. You got to go to 5 shows and you're not sick. You got to pick a struggle, man. It's not. It's not fair.
I don't know how I managed it because I think last year September I had like a bunch. I had 3 in a row last year and I got sick. It was like Bad Omens, Parkway, and there was something else. I can't remember what it was, but it was good month of concerts, honestly. One of my favorites in a very long time.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think we might as well go and just transition to it since you've already started talking about it. You and I were the only ones that went to shows this month, right?
I believe so.
I did not go to any for the first time in 4 months. I did not go to any live shows in September.
Yeah, so we went to 3 shows that were both touring in our areas, both of the same, and then you went to 2 others that I didn't go to. Yes. So we might as well go ahead and talk about what we did go to, and then you can just piggyback and talk about the rest. The first one that I went to was Polaris, Bless the Fall, Nerve, and 1,000 Below. That was earlier this month. It was a good show. I'm still not sure I like the new or the direction Bless the Fall is going instead of how they were on their last album. Because every time I want to listen to them, I want to enjoy I think it was Sakura Blues, whatever that song is. I want to enjoy that style of post-hardcore, and I didn't get that, and it was kind of unfortunate. And then I also left partway into Polaris' set. Oof. I think I left after, what was it? Overdrive?
Overflow.
There you go. Yeah, I left
song. You know, I mean, I know Polaris isn't really your style of metalcore, so at least you got to hear that one live. I can respect that one.
Yeah, that is my favorite Polaris song. Nerve and 1,000 Below, of course, did phenomenal, as they always do. Nerve played a new song that isn't the next one that's releasing. And apparently they're dropping one this month in October, so that's exciting. But the new song
I got to meet the boys, finally.
Yeah, and I got to meet them for like the 4th time.
They were so nice, dude. Yeah, I don't want to go too into detail, but it was awesome meeting them, and honestly, some of the nicest guys I've ever met, and their set was really good too. I wish I knew more of their songs, honestly, because I really enjoyed their set. It was my first time seeing them, and I think it was their 2nd show in out of the country or something like that. That's could be wrong, but yeah, and it was my 8th time seeing 1,000 Below.
Just ridiculous.
Is that the band you've seen the most?
Yes, and I've never seen them headline.
Did they? They haven't headlined, right?
Ever headlined?
Not in Canada, no.
Well, because if they had headlined in Canada, you would have been there.
Yes.
Why do I always think 1,000 Below is Australian?
No, they're
West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe like below, down under, you know.
I mean, maybe, I guess. Or it's just something about Australia's waters like clouded my judgment on a lot of bands that we listen to.
They're okay. I've come to the conclusion after seeing this live set of Thousand Below, I think Hell Finds You Everywhere is their best album.
Yeah, I agree.
The nostalgia of The Love You Let Too Close has worn off, and there's a new king.
What's there's some song on that, like Clockwork something.
Clockwork Enemy.
Yes. That song is so fucking good.
They played what was it, Silent Season, right, Justin?
Yeah, they played Silent Season. I remember that one.
I was not expecting that. It was kind of a deep cut off the album, or maybe it's doing numbers on it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna quickly go through because I think Bless the Falls set was awesome. Honestly, they were really fun to watch. And it was a very. I went into it expecting to be like, there's not a lot of hard feeling songs on here, and then we get into it and I'm just having a ball. Honestly, the only song I didn't like was the new one, I don't even know what it's called, the one featuring Alpha Wolf. I didn't like that song, but yeah, Polaris was okay. I think honestly the pit was massive at one point, but other than that, it was just okay, honestly.
Yeah, I think Nerve's set was probably the best for me. But that's
To be
kind of
expected
easy
from you.
Yes. I think the next one we both went to was Star Set, right?
Yeah. No
Yeah,
openers. An hour and a
Yeah,
half.
no
of
openers.
waiting.
Yeah, it just went straight into Star Set. It was about 2.5 hour show.
Yeah,
and for those
it's
that
an
haven't been to
experience.
Yeah, for those that haven't been to a Star Set, basically it's like it's an experience. They basically play like a visual over the show, and it's like some sort of like short film type thing that they've integrated into the show, and like intermittently throughout it they'll play some of the songs and whatnot. It was really cool to experience live. It does open up one of my gripes with a lot of live shows nowadays that I'm kind of not too happy about, and it's the overuse of lights. And because one of my later shows earlier that I went to last week, like the lights were so bad someone had a seizure at the show. And while that's just kind of like a one-off thing, not everyone suffers from that. Like it's definitely like I think some of that stuff either needs to be toned down, or I think it definitely needs to be transitioned a little bit. I think Star Set did fine with that type of visuals, especially given their show and what they were doing. Their set list was also like really, really good.
Yeah. So see, I gotta back up here a little bit, because I don't know what your show was like, but the spinny thing that they had with the
hologram thing,
in front of them, honestly, it's cool for like a song, and then it's like
distracting.
Get out of my way, I want to see them playing. That's kind of how I felt about it. I think, yeah, like there's some really cool things they did with like the videos and how integrating it into the videos.
Mm-hmm.
But once they removed it, I was like, oh my god, it's gone, thank god.
they removed it like halfway in after like the BMI ad, I think. Which is really good. I think that disconnect, like for the first half of the show, it's something that's kind of a lot of bands do really well, and I think Starsight, with what they were going for, I think it was definitely good. But I think it's that stage presence that you need, like the interactivity with the audience. I think is something that's a bit more enjoyable. But this is also a send off of like a lore type thing. So
yes, it's a send off to their previous two albums, like the story within those albums. This was kind of putting it to like expanding on it, creating a short film, like you said. It is an experience.
I'm throwing the set list in the Discord for the other two, so they can see like
Derek won't care. Jake might care.
The wildness of a 20-song set.
Guilty
They
as
played
charged.
Trials. That's insane.
The only song that they didn't play that I was sad about was Satellite. Satellite's my favorite, and they didn't play it.
And they have like 3 different costumes, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You got the encore, I'm assuming. The encore was Toxic, and they came out in like hazmat suits.
Yeah. It was really good as far as the show goes.
I have to complain a little bit as well. I think the energy coming from Dustin was kind of lacking. Maybe that's just his style, and maybe I get it. You're doing a 20-song set list. It's a long night, but like, honestly, it's kind of just like a little boring, especially with the thing in front of them as well. Okay, let's just go to the next.
The last one that we both went to was a Caskets headliner with Caskets, Windwalkers, and Colorblind. Did yours have an opener?
I didn't have a local opener. No.
A local, yeah. So it was just Colorblind. Yeah, they each played like 7 or 8 songs each. It was at least Windwalkers and Colorblind.
Fan now.
Yeah.
Fan.
That was such a good set. I think it's probably one of my favorite sets of the year so far is Colorblind's. Windwalkers also had just a phenomenal set list. They finally played Losing My Color live, which was really good.
It was so good. You know what? I learned a lot about that album just from hearing him talk between songs. I think his name's Trevor, right? Yeah, Trevor.
Yeah.
First of all, The Overlook is about The Shining. Did anybody know that?
Yeah, you mentioned that.
It's like
I feel
Iceland
like
kills.
I heard that from a comment somewhere.
I probably said it in the Discord after. It's like, what? And then I think the song they played after was Losing My Color. And it's like, yeah, this is about me being far away from my kids. It's like, it's total opposite. And yeah, they were awesome. I got to meet them after as well and got a signed vinyl.
Frisbee.
Yeah, they're super cool guys too. I hung out a little bit with Tim, the guitarist, the really tall
guy.
Guitarist. Yeah, I hung out with him on the first time they came around to Virginia. And like they're super cool guys in general. Caskets also did the usual thing of being much better live than they are in studio.
Yeah.
I know Jake will disagree with me, but I don't care.
Agrees. Honestly, Caskets was really good too. My venue was really hot. I don't know. Yeah. It was like a swamp, honestly. But
mine was fine. But
yeah, it was a really good set. I think it was a little short, in my opinion.
It was fine for me. I mean,
12.
I got out at a reasonable time, so I won't complain.
Also, this show and the next show I went to, I have to say, I freaking love small venues, dude. It's so much more fun.
I think the venue they went to, which is a local venue here in Virginia Beach, I think is probably my favorite venue just because they sounded so clear compared to the ones I drove an hour and a half for up in Richmond. And like for some reason, the vocalists were too drowned out compared to like the instrumentals for me personally, and it was just a little bit hard to hear them from like where I was at, and it was the same venue too, so it was a little bit weird. But yeah, Caskets live, they played pretty much a lot of their like well-known tracks.
They played what's the slow song they played? I remember
which one? I think they have a few.
That I was really upset when the way they played it because I wanted them to play Hopes and Dreams instead, because it's kind of like the what's the second album called? Reflections.
Was it? Are you talking about Silhouettes?
Like, it's the Reflections version of Hopes and Dreams, basically.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Silhouettes. I think
I can't
what it was.
tell you. It's like it's either Silhouettes or it's The Closer, which was Better Way Out.
They didn't play Better Way Out, so it had to be Silhouettes. Yeah.
Yeah, Silhouettes.
I'm hoping that they experiment with the next album, because throughout the art set, one of the guitarists was doing uncleans for some of the stuff.
He does that, yeah.
And I'm curious to see if they're going to incorporate that into the next album, because they haven't in those last two, and I think that variance in sound really helps a lot. But that's all I went to. If you want to just touch on the last other shows you went to.
I went to, I was supposed to see Point North, Nevertel, Elijah, Rivals, but I only saw Rivals in the local opener because I left. Nevertel had some visa issues, I believe, so they didn't get into Canada, which is very sad because I was extremely hyped to see them. But I got to see local opener and then Rivals, which was their first show out of Canada or out of US. Sorry. So that was cool. They played the new song, which we will talk about. And they played
their newest set list, from what I remember, it's a lot of it's like all of their new songs, and then Fake Rich is like the only song from.
They played Alkaline too. They played Alkaline. Okay. Alkaline was pretty good too. Yeah, I was very happy to hear that. It was a good set. The crowd sucked, honestly. Pretty boring crowd.
Especially for a band like Rivals, because Kaylee
she came into the crowd like several times trying to get people hyped up, and nobody got in. I should have went in, honestly. I was the venue kind of has like a stairway down to the pit area, and it's like fenced off almost, like there's a little bar area for your drinks. And I was standing on the other side of the bar, but definitely should have gone in. And then honestly, I left after Rivals. And then the next show I went to the day after was band my girlfriend likes, or artist, I guess, called Virginia to Vegas. And funnily enough, they're Canadian. And it was really cool to see.
Also, you probably didn't like them.
No, they were good. Honestly, it was really cool to see every band or every artist on the bill was Canadian. It was really nice to see a Canadian show. I didn't really know any of the songs, but I'm like the one tall dude in the crowd, so I'm easy to spot. But yeah, it was a good show.
How was this, like a small venue or a big venue? So I'm just imagining like you are the tallest person in the crowd, and the vocalist is constantly. Okay, that's not too big. That's pretty small then. Because like if you're like one of the tallest people in the crowd, and the vocalist just keeps looking at you because you're like sticking up above everyone else.
Yeah, it is 400. It is 400.
Okay, and I can just imagine the vocalist of the band just looking at you all the time.
We made eye contact a few times.
And you just don't know any of the songs.
Yeah, I'm just standing there like, I tried to start. My girlfriend got embarrassed when I tried headbanging. She didn't like it. Because it was not really a headbanging kind of vibe. More like a, what's the word? No, I can't. Like a indie rock kind of. That's what
like
I go
sway
with.
Back and forth type deal.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what was that one opener for Dance Gavin Dance back in 2019? And
Covet.
People were doing pits in the Covet show.
Anyway, those are the 5 shows I went to. Those are the 3 shows Justin went to. We're about half hour into this episode.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Next month, I swear I'm only going to 1 show, maybe 2. Actually, I might go.
You swear?
I've got 1 show lined up next week. It's the Rain City Drive headliner.
I've got Dayseeker, and I might go see Dreamwake.
Do it.
You know, I could also potentially go see Dreamwake this week.
Do it.
I'm probably not going to.
I'll see how much tickets are, and then I'll decide.
Derek, you were supposed to go to a show, but that fell through. So I think that means we should just get going into the music.
What did it fall through due to? Was it his sickness? Would you call it like an infection?
Yeah, right. Good.
Damn, it wasn't sickness.
Is that a transition into the first song?
It was vaguely one, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we're in singles, and Memphis May Fire have released Infection.
They have released the Infection among the Hivemind, and for now it's only hit Derek.
Yes.
I got hit early August. My time is done.
That's true. I got hit early August too.
We're both free. Sorry, Jake.
Jake never gets sick, I swear.
I don't go outside.
It's because you know what? You know why it is? It's because when he goes to Waffle House, he doesn't order like unhealthy food. He orders milk.
The milk honestly, stabilizes him.
I love that we don't let that die. Honestly, I probably should get sick more often because my mom and my sister both work at a preschool, and they're surrounded by sick kids a lot. But I never end up getting it never ends up getting to me somehow.
I think you just jinxed yourself, bro. Low key, I feel like you shouldn't have said that. You know what I mean? Like now it's too late for you. There's gonna be some kid with a case of what is it, hand, foot, and mouth. It's over. You're cooked.
To quote many people from the past few years, I am simply built different.
Okay, what about this Memphis May Fire song?
I think this is the best of the recent singles.
I totally agree.
This is the most reminiscent to Remade in Misery, I feel like. Has a really energetic chorus. Just overall, I mean, like, it's not doing anything drastically different from the other singles that have come out this year.
No.
But I feel like...
Cody wrote this because he keeps coughing.
I will say, the cough outro at the end of this song, it's a little... I don't know how I feel about it, honestly.
Oh, you haven't listened to The River enough.
No, I haven't.
It feels very reminiscent of God, what's the song from Remade in Misery? The one where he's like cut the leech out or whatever. Anyway,
I was gonna say Make Believe for me. I think is the one.
Yeah,
I was talking lyrically. Sorry.
I think the Bleed Me Dry. I think
maybe. Anyway, he makes some unique sounds in this song, and that's why I like it.
I think one of the biggest things for me is that it feels fresh, and I like that the breakdown has like the guitar melody in it is similar to the vocal melody, and I think it's the chorus or something like that, but it actually does something rather than just being chugs. It feels like it has a purpose rather than just being inserted into there, because they do good breakdowns, but they feel really generic, you know. I like this. I thought this was great. This is a step in the right direction. We talked before about a lateral move. This is a move upward.
I 100% agree. You know, guys, after Nevertel didn't show up, I lost a little bit of faith. That's why Nevertel have released this new song, Losing Faith. So if this is the final breath I take, will you watch and let me suffocate?
On the other end of the spectrum, I sure as hell am not losing faith in this band, because this might be one of my favorite Nevertel songs, period.
Yeah. Really good.
Know My Loneliness, all good. Losing Faith, top 3 Nevertel songs, I think. This song is the chorus melody of Came in Like the Waves crashing and I Can't Get Out the Way. So if this is the final breath I take, that pause is so fucking good. It is so fucking good. And the melody, along with the guitar instrumentation and the chorus, just unbelievably catchy. Every time I go back to this song, I am just like, wow, this song is incredible. Both Jeremy and Raul absolutely nail their parts. Definitely my favorite Nevertel song of this year. over Shut Your Mouth and Sacrifice. Maybe not as creative or original, because Sacrifice had a pretty unique song structure, and Shut Your Mouth was also, it was definitely heavier for them, but I don't know. This one speaks to me in the melody and the instrumentation.
It's weird that I think Shut Your Mouth isn't on the album. I think so far Losing Faith and Sacrifice are the only songs that are going to be on the album.
Interesting.
I think that's what they said on Instagram. Either way, I think this is an okay Nevertel song, not my favorite.
Man.
I mean, an okay Nevertel song is like still one of the best bands that have come out in like recent years. So
I'm like genuinely disappointed with this band. I still say the song is a banger. I'm not disappointed. I'm just sad.
I do like the increase in instrumentation during Raul's part. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like when the guitars came in and the drums. Really, really good. But I'd still say my favorite Nevertel song is really hard to top No Reverse.
Mine is Modified, I think.
I think I'm with you on that one, Jacob. The fact that like everybody's listed a banger though, like shout out Nevertel in their discography. It's so good.
Oh yeah. There's not a bad song.
From when their album came out in 2021, we did that After Hours episode with them, and seeing the growth that they have experienced over these last few years, just unbelievably deserved and about damn time, you know? Proud of our boys.
They're almost at 700,000 monthly listeners.
Yeah. And I didn't get to see them!
Someday. You will probably get another chance to see them before Virginia does.
Hey, that's facts.
Yeah, they said they'd make it up to us, right? So headliner? Question mark?
I mean, they're approaching 1 million monthly listeners. That's like approaching headliner territory, surely.
Co-headliner, at least, probably. Can we get a Nevertel Colorblind co-headliner?
That'd be pretty sick.
2025 to celebrate the Colorblind album.
And probably a Nevertel album, I think.
Nevertel album? Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Speaking of albums, we have if you had on your bingo card that this next band was releasing a brand new album in 2024, I don't know if I would have believed you. But here we are in this timeline. Linkin Park have returned with 2 brand new singles this month and a brand new album coming out in November called From Zero. New songs, The Emptiness Machine and Heavy is the Crown. The Emptiness Machine dropped as part of their comeback live stream event that they did. And Heavy is the Crown is the League of Legends Worlds 2024 song anthem in collaboration with Riot Games. There's been a lot of notable bands that Riot has collaborated with from the scene. You had Paris on Burn It Down back in 2021. Obviously, Telly of the Word Alive, Chrissy from Against the Current, and just Against the Current in general with Legends Never Die. But before I get into Heavy as a Crown, let's talk about the song that they returned with first, The Emptiness Machine. The first time that we get to hear the new vocalist taking place of Chester Bennington. How do we feel about it? Because obviously Chester is one of a kind and you don't really replace Chester, you know?
Yeah, you couldn't hope to.
Yeah, it's a bit of an impossible job.
Having said that, I feel like they found probably the best possible replacement after hearing these 2 songs. Am I off base for thinking that?
I wouldn't say you're off base. It's hard to say because like it is such an impossible job and role for anyone to fill, it feels like. But I feel like I don't think I'm let down. It's hard to say that like I don't think you can outwardly say that Emily coming into the band makes Linkin Park better. but I also don't think that you can say that she makes them worse. Maybe like a slightly downward, almost lateral move. I don't know.
I don't know. I think the Emptiness Machine sounds like something off like the Hunting Party. Heavy as the Crown sounds like something off Meteora, honestly like a knockoff. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of these songs. I think I'm not the biggest fan of the return either. I think they should choose a different name, come back as something else.
The thing
That's
is,
where
if Mike
I'm at.
Shinoda is involved with a new band with a lot of the same members as Linkin Park, everyone's just going to call it Linkin Park's new band anyway.
I don't think so.
Not with a female vocalist instead of a male one. I've like, and that's not to say there's anything wrong with that. I think it's just the difference in sound between Emily and Chester is different enough where it doesn't sound equally the same, and where I feel like it's kind of very hard to, improve on that legacy. I feel like something new may have probably been better, but if this is the direction they're going, it's obviously got a really good following.
My
It's
mind
not
can
something
be
that I'm in
changed
for.
with this album too. I'm not gonna listen to the album, and I'm keeping my mind open. But off of these two singles, I'm not impressed.
It's the same situation, because we've had like other bands that have transitioned from male to female vocalists, Mosaic,
Novelist.
Novelists, yeah, and those like they don't sound too different, and it's just it's a weird transition, and it's gonna be interesting to kind of see what the album sounds like with this. I want to see how much of a part Raul or not Raul. I was looking at Nevertel. Fucking Mike Shinoda.
Can you imagine?
The rapper guy.
I mean, sometimes Raul gets possessed by Mike Shinoda, so it happens. I'm curious to see how prevalent Mike's vocals are in the album. I don't know. I feel like he's gonna have more to sing or rap in the album than Emily does.
Another thing is, it sounds like it really sounds like they're nostalgia baiting. Like they're going for
probably
a specific sound of previous albums, and honestly, at the end, this is not the direction Chester was going. Dog agrees.
Honestly, that is a really good point. I feel like they were definitely feeling a little more pop rock oriented towards the end, right? Like especially with Heavy, right? Yeah. From that perspective, it makes sense that like maybe even if they're not nostalgia baiting, that the rest of the band is kind of stuck on that older sound. Because even Heavy as the Crown, that scream sounded very much like something off of the scream off of Given Up. Like it was almost identical, and I see what they're trying to do here.
It definitely is a nod to Chester. While we're on the topic, I honestly feel like that extended scream is probably my least favorite part of Heavy as the Crown.
I think the Emptiness Machine is slightly better than the Heavy as the Crown.
I think, in my opinion, I have been listening to Heavy as the Crown on repeat ever since it came out. It's one of my favorite songs of the month. Emptiness Machine is still fine, but the chorus in Heavy as the Crown, the pitch shift on Try to Hold It In, but it keeps bleeding out, I fucking love. And I think the rest of the melody, I think Mike's verses are fantastic. In general, I've always been a fan of the world's anthems. They're fairly, like, lyrically, you kind of know what you expect from a League of Legends world anthem. They're going to be, like, intense, epic, motivational. They're like trying to set the stage for Worlds, And I feel like Heavy as the Crown does that, and that's sort of a sound that I've always really resonated with Rise and Legends Never Die, and some of the other ones from more recent years. Even last year, Gods with New Jeans, I quite enjoyed. And I think I think even if Heavy as a Crown wasn't a League's anthem song, I think I really would have enjoyed it. The thing for me with the extended scream is that it just almost kind of takes me out of the song, and
it feels forced.
It feels forced, yeah. It feels forced, and I think it'd be cool if they did it live, but not on the studio version. But then I don't know. People would probably complain. I mean, people are going to complain no matter what this band does at this point. All in all, I am pleasantly surprised with these two songs, and I am looking forward to the album in November. And I think that while it is impossible to replace Chester, I think that the music that they have released so far is good. And in a bubble, it is just some really solid, some was on the line of pop rock, new metal, somewhere in there.
Quick tangent, not tangent, but side note. They announced like a world tour with like no time for people to buy tickets. Like it's just like they expect to build these things so fast. It's really impressive, honestly.
Yeah. I thought about trying to ask my dad if he wanted to go to the one in New York. His grandson was opening, and I've seen Grandson twice, but my dad has never seen Grandson, and I know he's wanted to.
Yo, who wants to go to Paris with me? I want to go to the Paris one.
I wonder why.
Just kidding. I'm going to see the Devil Wears Prada that night.
Oh, okay. Any other thoughts on these two Linkin Park songs?
No.
Talk about the album in our November recap when that comes around. Let's move on. The City Is Ours released a brand new song, Psycho, off of their upcoming album, Will You Still Love Me, coming out January 31st, 2025. The first 2025 release that I believe we are talking about, that has been announced anyway. They released a song earlier this year called In the Dark, which we did not end up discussing. I thought it was fine, but nothing too crazy. Psycho is arguably my new favorite song of theirs. The level of swagger that they have put on for this new album cycle, I am in love with. It is so groovy. And like, I don't know, I am really loving the swagger and energy and groove that they are giving me with these recent singles. Psycho and Shame from late last year, I think are fantastic. In the Dark, while not my favorite, still has a lot of really fun energy, which is a surprising shift from the sound from their 2021 album, which was kind of just metalcore, but this feels really unique and fresh, and like I can't think of another band that's doing it exactly like The City Is Ours is right now.
I agree. I like this a lot. I haven't been impressed with their most recent stuff, but this is something different. I feel like they're carving a space out for themselves.
Yeah,
you know? I like this.
Which is a rare sight in 2024 metalcore.
No, for real. You don't have to tell me twice.
I feel like there is somebody that I can release this style. Anyway, I'm gonna search for it. But yeah, it's cool to see something unique. That being said, I'm not the biggest fan.
Fair enough. Yeah. I want to point out a couple of lyrics because I think there's a really cool message in this song that's basically, it's about like the culture war that's been going on through social media and about like people trying to police what other people are doing in a way.
All right, I like this song already. I like this song.
What's the verse is, what's that? Wait a minute, do you hear the step back? It's not any of your business. You always seem so desperate to see the inside of my mind. And then the second verse is, wait a minute, I can hear this. I don't see how it's any of your business. You still seem so desperate to see the inside of my mind. And then before the little pre-chorus where it says, oh God, I guess that I'm a psycho, it says, what's the problem? You're the problem. And it's really just calling people out for being like let people live, you know? It's not that fucking hard. I like the message, and it's also a really fun song. I'm excited for this album in January. I remember their 2021 album was like a Dark Horse top 10 at the time, and just barely missed out on my list. And I think they could be in for an even stronger album next year. Takes us to our next song. We have Hot Milk, who have released brand new single, Where Does the Light Get In? The first single since the release of their album last year, Call to the Void, my album of the year. And this just follows in the footsteps of everything great that Hot Milk has ever done. This is a very emotional, powerful song. You get fantastic vocal deliveries from both Hannah and Jim. You get some screams. You get a powerful melody in the chorus. You get some like orchestral-ish backing vocals in the chorus. It's just a really powerful, emotional song dealing with all sorts of emotions that they have talked about in their previous material, and just the struggle of mental health. And while this isn't my favorite song of theirs in comparison to their album last year, I mean, that album just has so many unbelievably incredible songs. This is still a fantastic single from Hot Milk, and something that I spent a fair amount of time with throughout the month.
This has really good energy to it. I like the energy that Hot Milk are moving with right now. Like the tone of their last album contrasts with this, but also feels like it fits in there. Like Hot Milk are doing good things. They have such a great, fun, positive energy, even when discussing
really
topics.
Sad things.
Yeah, that wouldn't generally be considered as positive. I think that they are at the top of their game right now. Honestly, I think they're doing great things, and I would like to see this continue. I'm interested to see where they head, because this is a band that I feel like has demonstrated a lot of creativity, right? So how do they field that moving forward? How do they proceed with the next album cycle, or going, I don't know. It scares me and excites me, and I don't know how to feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know the exact backstory to the song, but I know that Hannah in particular has been very vocal about this song means a lot to her, and the label didn't want them to put out a song this soon after the album, but she felt like she needed to. So whatever they're going through, I'm sorry, but thank you for the good music.
For real.
Let's keep this train going. We have Spiritbox, who have returned with brand new single, Soft Spine. And oops, someone pissed off Courtney.
You never want to piss off Courtney. That is the one thing you don't want to do. I think did I just hear you sigh, Jacob?
Probably. I don't remember if I did or not.
I was about to say, are you still not feeling it?
No.
Damn.
It's okay. Like it's like every other Spiritbox song. It's just okay.
This is a specific archetype of Spiritbox song that we have come to know and love at this point. This is a Holy Roller, Silk in the Strings, Angel Eyes, Cellar Door-esque song. Courtney is mad, and she is screaming the entire fucking time. You get some incredible riffs across the entire song. The opening riff, after she belts out "You All Deserve Each Other," just the guitar tone is classic Spiritbox at this point, and the harsh vocal chorus works really well in this song. It's not something that I feel like works all the time, but Spiritbox they seem to have a knack for making these pissed off heavy choruses work in a way that not all bands can pull off. And yeah, I spent quite a bit of time with this one this month as well.
Pre-Josh Gilbert.
Let him sing.
Yeah.
Let him sing.
I don't know if I would want him to sing on this song, but like
No,
in general, I agree with
yeah.
the sentiment.
I will say it until I die. Derek put this thought in my mind. All those, I forget what we were reviewing, but we reviewed something and Derek put it in my mind, and I will preach it until death. I had my fist in
You're
the air.
welcome. Damn, okay. Motivational speaker over here. Holy balls, I'm feeling rally the fucking troops, dog. Oh, good.
The guitar in the breakdown is cool. I'll say that.
Yeah. The Omega Distortion. Yeah, Spiritbox are just, it's like undeniable at this point. Like, what more needs to be said about them whenever they release a new song almost?
Fun fact, I could hear Spiritbox. They were in town the same day I went to the Virginia to Vegas. I could hear them from outside the venue. It was kind of cool.
It's cool. I believe Spiritbox, they played this with Poppy at Louder Than Life Festival. I think like a week ago or so, and the video for that's out on YouTube, and that was fantastic. I'd be surprised if that makes it onto streaming platforms, but
wait,
who knows? Maybe.
Hey, I just noticed you didn't add Poppy to this playlist.
I did not. Nope.
That's crazy.
We'll talk about it when the album comes out.
Interesting.
With that out of the way, I've got a new band for us to talk about right here. One of two new bands for this episode, I believe. Within Reach have released their brand new single, Armageddon. This is a small up-and-coming UK metalcore band, young metalcore band at that. A lot of these dudes are teenagers, early 20s, and I think it's very impressive what they are doing with this song. There's one thing about this song that really stands out to me, though, and why this stands out in the sea of many other metalcore songs that have released this year that haven't really connected with me, and what it comes down to the breakdown into guitar solo back-to-back combo at like the 3-minute mark. When I heard this song for the first time, I was having fun. That guitar solo after the breakdown comes in, I'm like, oh fuck yeah. These guys know. I fucking love it. It's a sound that feels reminiscent of Manic and Pressure era Wage War, but British. And overall, like, yeah, I really don't have anything negative to say about this. This was a pleasant surprise to show up in my YouTube recommended feed when I first heard it, and that guitar solo keeps me coming back.
This song confused me a little bit. The beginning is like totally different than the end, but I guess I listen to Sleep Token, so I can't complain.
Derek, did you have any thoughts on this one?
This fucks.
Hell yeah.
It's interesting that they're British, because I was gonna say it reminds me of the new iteration of Our Hollow, Our Home a little bit. So I guess the British section's checking out.
I'm curious to see more from these guys in the future. Yeah, as I said, definitely pleasantly surprised with this one. Let's completely shift gears with the energy for a sec. Rivals released their brand new song, Superstar.
Enjoy the show.
I got to hear this song live when they played it on their headliner tour back in June. And this song was really fun live. I was not able to follow the lyrics at the time, but now that we have the lyrics, it's like
they're funny as fuck, dude.
They are funny as hell. This feels like Fake Rich 2.0 in a sense. Whereas Fake Rich came out in 2020 when Kaylee was obviously not as confident as she is now, and now she's asking Seth Rogen to give her head.
Real.
Yo, this song was cool live.
This song was really cool live. I can vouch for that. It's just like this is not one of those rival songs that I'm going to be taking anything out of from the lyrics.
Oh,
But it's just a fun listen.
My girlfriend loves this song, by the way. So it's in like
my sister loves it too.
It's in our shared playlist, and I hear it all the time.
Oh yeah. It's like here. I'm just gonna read out the entire verse with the Seth Rogen bit. I want private jets. I want A-list friends. Seth Rogen to give me head. I wanna start some shit. This is like. It's so unserious, but so on brand at this point as well.
I don't know if it's unserious.
You know, you might have a point there, actually. And then the chorus as well, the wah, 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 I'm a superstar, baby. Just watch me go. And then ending with, like, enjoy the show before you get into this really heavy riff. In the final chorus as well, you get some extra distortion in the guitars on the final chorus, which I thought was a really nice touch. Yeah, I went back to this song a lot throughout the month, whereas for songs like Armageddon, it was that guitar solo. For Psycho by the City Is Ours, it was the groove in that post-chorus. This song, it was just the silliness and the overall fun energy that it has that kept me coming back. Any other thoughts, or are we good to move on?
Nope, I don't thoughts.
All right, up next we have Our Promise, who have released their brand new single, Decode. Not a Paramore cover.
But I swear tomorrow I'll be fine.
Thought it was important to point that out, because I feel like a lot of songs that come out that are called Decode are just Paramore covers. Anyway, Our Promise continues to deliver some good ass metalcore. I don't think I enjoy this as much as I did with 55 over the summer, but the combination of the two vocalists and just the instrumentation, the consistent quality that Our Promise are delivering is just super impressive. I have no idea if they are planning on an album with any of these songs, but if they are, it's an easy top 10 album of the year contender. Justin, Derek, Jacob, any added words here?
No, I gave it that one lesson, and 55 is just 10 times better.
Fair enough.
Sorry, I was
I'm
busy
still-
coughing a fit.
I'm still on the fence about this band.
See, I'm
That's
the
where I'm at.
opposite. That's how I was before they made the vocalist change, but now it's like, okay, no, I'm in. I think this fucks. In a year where metalcore has been really, really disappointing, at least for me, I feel like they're at least putting out something that's consistently good and above the level that they were before. I really enjoyed this. I think they're on a great upward trajectory.
You know what's great? We've talked about like 5 metalcore songs so far this episode, and you haven't complained about any of them yet, Derek.
No.
That's a crazy thing to say in the year 2024, given all of our past recaps.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
Before we move on to my final single in this long ass stretch of mine, I really want to point out the breakdown in this song. It just never ends. It's just like there's 3 layers to the breakdown that just keeps on going and going and going. It's really cool. But also in the first chorus, the delivery of, but I swear tomorrow I'll be fine, before it gets into the main riff. The desperation in his vocals and like the airy, breathy delivery of it. I don't know. I fucking love it. There's a lot of emotion in his clean vocals throughout this song that I think really stand out. My final single of the month, returning after we talked about her for the first time earlier this year, Royal Lynn has released brand new single, Sacrifice. Previously talked about Death Wish featuring Denny Worsnop of Asking Alexandria. I still think that song is better, but at this point, Royal Lynn is becoming one of my favorite artists I've discovered this year. I think she is 2 for 2 in these recent singles, and I've really enjoyed this. This is not doing anything crazy. It's hard rock with some like low-key metalcore, not even low-key metalcore riffs, but like metalcore influences in the riffs that is just executed really well with the production and the mix and the vocal delivery. And overall, I think Royal Lynn, who kind of came from a bit of a country background and started dabbling with rock at this point, like, other than her having a bit of a southern accent, I don't really see too much country influence left in this song. This is just a hard rock song that I don't know for certain if it's all over Octane, but I feel like it should be.
Is it just me, or is Sacrifice like the new name for every song? Like, I swear I see a new Sacrifice every freaking month now. We got like
You might have a
3 in this
point.
playlist.
You might have a
Maybe
point.
Maybe only 2, actually.
How long do you give it before we get a song called Sacrifice and they drop an Undertow lyric in it? When will the crossover happen?
It's probably already been done.
We need to find one. That's our new goal. We need to find whoever does it first.
I'm starting
take that
with
one.
Color Decay. I'm going to look there.
Honestly, yeah, if there was going to be anything. You know, I'm kind of surprised Justin added this next one. I can't lie. After hearing it, I don't know. Justin, give us your
Jake
thoughts.
had already added 7 songs. I knew someone needed to. From Fall to Spring dropped their new single, Come Alive.
Will save me now. Can we ever stop? No, we never stop. Heal my heart somehow. There's no way I'm alone.
You know, I've noticed this over the past like few months. Justin's taste is getting heavier and heavier.
Yeah.
You say
Yeah.
that, but I think this year, like a lot of the bands that I've enjoyed are less heavy. Like a lot of songs that I keep going back to.
I'm not saying you like it more. I'm saying you're just becoming more open to it.
Maybe? I don't know. I
I
just know
think
this song
so.
is really good.
Based on comments you said about another album we're going to be talking about, I will say yes.
Probably. This song is good. I really got invested into it because of the music video. Music
It's a
video
really
is
cool
really
music
good.
video. It's a really cool music video.
I probably listened to more through the video than actual Spotify. But I really
That's me with
like
the
the
Royal Lynn
chorus in
song.
this.
Hmm.
I really like this chorus. Heal my heart somehow. There's no way out. Lonely through the night, like clouds arise. Won't go down without a fight. Will I come alive? The breakdown is also really good on this one, but I didn't give this one as much time as a lot of other songs this month. This month is probably like my weakest month in terms of like individual singles I've listened to over like the last couple months at least. I don't remember earlier this year. But I would say like this and 2 other songs I added were pretty predominant as far as like singles go this month for me. I haven't really listened to this band much else past this single, so like I haven't gone back to listen to their 2023 album, but I'm curious to see how the rest of the singles sound. I still need to go back to Control and Castaway. By the
Castaway's
way,
a
they all
banger.
start with C's. That's weird.
Castaway is a banger. I didn't add it when it came out earlier this year, but Castaway is fantastic. Control I thought was just okay. This is comfortably in
Okay, so
second
I'll probably
place
like
for
it.
me. Yeah, you'll probably like Control actually. Yeah, this song I'm pretty much just gonna echo everything you said about this song. From Fall to Spring, their album last year was surprisingly good. A lot of really memorable songs on that album, and this band's floor is really high. I'm rarely ever left disappointed listening to music from this band. They managed to blend the rap and rock/metal influences really well. And yeah, I'm very happy with this. And I'm glad that you are too, because I know I've tried to get you into this band a handful of times and it's never really worked, but I'm glad this one worked out.
Don't get too excited, but we'll see where the next single goes, and
Yeah.
when I go back to the last 2 that dropped, we'll see. I got another one for you guys. LifeSpark dropped their new single, So Long.
So long I've been here, this place where I still feel the fear of letting go of what
about their EP when that
We
came out?
did. Yes, that
forgot if we did.
was
I think so.
that was
Sounds
August
familiar.
last year. Yeah. I think this is better than a lot of their EP. There's a lot of
I
their
thought
EP.
this one was just good, but not great. I definitely think there's a couple songs off the EP. Admittedly, I haven't gone back to the EP a ton, but I remember it
Me
being
neither.
like consistently pretty good. I didn't add it last month, but their song "Endless Paradise" I listened to quite a bit last month. I think if So Long hadn't come out on the specific day that it did, I would have spent a lot more time with it. Because Life Spark are just, they're making solid post-hardcore. Really solid clean vocals and harsh vocals from time to time, and really solid melodies, really solid instrumentation. A hidden gem for sure.
Yeah, they're like one of the few consistent like hidden gems that I feel like can do pretty well, but just haven't really met that mark for me yet. Like this is on the path, but I feel like I need a little bit more from them. Because when I hear the vocalist, it sounds a lot like the vocalist of Colorblind, or not Colorblind. Fucking Glass Heart. There we go. I was thinking of their song Colorblind. That's why.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it sounds like Adam from Glass Heart, and I don't know. I think Glass Heart is a little bit better as far as that sound goes, but I'm curious to see like what comes out next from these guys. I don't know if they have anything lined up, but it's a good listen, and it filled in a void of songs that I had missed throughout the month. So
It's also worth noting that they are currently on tour supporting Normandy and Our Last Night across Europe, which is a huge opportunity for them, given they've only got like 10,000 monthly listeners. Right
yeah,
now.
that's pretty wild.
Just insane to see them on a tour like that.
They had to at least jump like a few thousand over the last week or so, because I just checked them when the single dropped. I believe this is a new band for the podcast. I don't know when we last talked about them.
Next one is the other one I hinted at earlier.
Yeah, this is Limbs dropping their single Paranoid.
It's time we make amends. Riots avoid. That's clashing around.
When you think of Limbs, you don't really think this is a Justin band, but
No.
I actually really liked their album in 2022, Coma Year. I don't remember if I ever mentioned that band at all, but this is very reminiscent of that album, and it's got a really good blend of the heavy vocals with a pretty comparable chorus. This song was, I wouldn't say like I was disconnected from it like when I first got into it. I really like the chorus. The chorus is really catchy for me. I think the verses and the heavier, harsher vocals, I think kind of takes me out of it a little bit, but it's not bad or anything. It's good to listen to and repeat constantly, but I don't think it's anything that's going to be sticking with me toward the end of the year.
The chorus in this song is extremely U-coded. Just like
Smile.
typical, if you like, oh, it's a new band that Justin liked. I wonder what the chorus is going to sound like. Yup, that checks out, you know?
Guilty.
And for good reason. Because, yeah, this is a really, really solid song. I enjoyed this. When it gets heavy, it's like the tone of his harsh vocals did not take me out of the song, and the chorus is absolutely fantastic. Great melody.
Yeah, I would say if you like this, you'll probably like the title track for their album, Come a Year. I think, or no, Spirit Breaker is the one that I have in my constant rotation. That's probably my favorite song from them.
Both of you two.
But seeing them drop,
to it.
seeing them dropping new stuff is exciting. So, all right, we got one more song from me. Varia dropped their new single "Heaven Knows" off of an upcoming album. I don't know when it drops.
When I come back to where I was before,
We've talked about Varia a little bit. We missed the last two singles, Obsidian and Moonlight, which Moonlight is my personal favorite from them. But this is very much like my second favorite song from them. It's got just that mix that I enjoy of the heavier vocals and the cleans. Something about the texture on the cleans for the chorus just really sticks out with me fairly well. But I would say, looking at the 4 songs that we've talked about, this may be my single of the month. But that's not really saying much going along singles.
Yeah, you could enjoy a ton this month.
Nah.
This is up there as my favorite Varia song. I'm kind of waiting for them to release that album or EP or whatever they have cooking to fully give this band like a proper listen. But every song I've heard from them has been good. And I really enjoyed the Queen vocals to open out this song. I didn't love this when it got heavier. I was kind of hoping this would be just Queens, but and that's just based on how strong the opening Queens are in the song. I was like, okay, I'm really enjoying this, and I think I really would have enjoyed it if it stayed just as Queens. But
did you get to Moonlight?
I Moonlight might be the only one I've missed, because I definitely listened to Obsidian. I definitely listened to this. I definitely listened to Algorithm.
You'll like Moonlight, because
okay.
Moonlight is this, like, it's basically the cleans of this with some harsh vocals near the end and like a little bit in the second verse. I think you'll like Moonlight better than this. But if you're saving it for the album, then wait for the album.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the album with these boys.
I messaged them a little bit because they opened for Windwalkers and Varsity when they were up a couple months back, and that's when I first heard Moonlight, and that's when they said that they have an album coming out at some point. And apparently they're saving a lot of their better stuff for the album, so I'm excited to see where that goes, but I don't know if it's going to be this year. It may be early next year.
Jacob, wrap us up with the singles here.
We got, I don't know how to pronounce the name of the song, Fuhai by Kenosis, featuring Hanabi. And for those who don't know, this is Rio, formerly of Crystal Lake. It's his new band. And it's so good to see him again.
Did you listen to the other stuff that dropped from him on this project?
I don't think so. I only saw this because there was like the signing helped, I think. But
yeah, he signed to Sharptown, but I've known this project has existed for a while because Tom Byrne does the art for it.
Huh. But yeah, this song reminds me a lot of old Crystal Lake, and I'm here for it. It's not my favorite song in the world. I also don't really like the Hanabi feature.
It feels like a wasted Hanabi feature to me. Like she only like, I don't feel like you get full use out of her vocals in this song. And I also like, I have gotten used to Rio's harsh vocals. I still don't like when he does his guttural lows, and whenever he does that, it just takes me out of the song. Like, very talented vocalist, don't get me wrong. Just I don't. It needs to be very toned down for me to like it.
Oh, that era of Crystal Lake was so good, man. They were honestly one of the best live performances I've ever seen. I'm so nostalgic. I want it back so bad. It was so cool seeing them live. But it's really good to see Rio again. Yeah, he makes the funny face that he does in the Aeon music video in this music video. This song's okay. I just don't like the feature.
Derek, do you have any thoughts on this one?
I don't. I wasn't able to get around to it.
Fair enough. That takes us to our EPs and albums for the episode. We knocked through those singles pretty quick. Good job, guys. We got 4 EPs, 8 albums to go, so we are not nearly done with this show yet. Justin, get us started with these first 2 EPs here.
Reece Young has dropped his newest EP here.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong? For wanting an ending all along, but it was for nothing.
This is Sleeper, one of the better EPs I've heard all year.
This is a good EP, but I think his EP Advance last year is better. At least consistently. Spear words. Consistently for me. I think Endless Riot and Before I'm in the Ground like trump all of this EP. And that's not saying this EP is bad. I think I just had more time with those singles. I didn't have nearly as much time with this EP, even though it dropped earlier in the month. I didn't really spend much time with it. I did like Dark. Am I Wrong? Are probably my 2 favorites off the EP. Reece Young in general just has a really good, like, I wouldn't say theme, but like atmosphere in a lot of his songs. And all of these are just consistently good, but they don't like break any barriers for me.
I think this EP is a step up from Advance. The only song on here I didn't really enjoy was Dark. Low and Am I Wrong released as singles earlier this year, and it's like I don't even remember spending that much time with those songs, but I still like when I looked at the track list, I'm like, wow, I still remember the melodies of both of these songs, and I've only listened to them a couple times, and I think that's really impressive songwriting to be able to make a melody that's so catchy that you can just memorize it after just a couple listens and it'll stay with you. Like I start listening to Low and I'm like, oh, this is the song that goes, am I low, 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 low? Like that repetitive chorus, it's simple, but it's really fun and catchy. And then the chorus of Am I Wrong, which is my favorite song on this EP. Yeah, am I wrong for wanting an ending all along, but it was for nothing? Just the delivery on those lines there, I think, was really well done. And then, as you said, instrumentally, like there's a lot to like here. It's nothing groundbreaking, but for fans of post-hardcore with really solid production and mixing, and just this is a really solid package across the board. I also really enjoyed the 2 new songs that came with the EP release, Suffering and Buried. I really like the electronic touches in Suffering, and again, it's got another really nice chorus. You get a dabbling of harsh vocals in there, and then Buried is a really solid song to round out the EP as well. Not an EP that I expected to enjoy as much as I did, but I can say this is like without doubt one of the better EPs I've heard this year.
Derek, did you get to this?
I didn't, and it feels like I'm fake for it because I think I'm the one who introduced this artist.
You are, yes.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know this came out. It's my own fault. I've been so busy. It's just, yeah. But the good news is that now it's a surprise for the end of the year. And given the number of EPs that have dropped this year that are of top 10 quality, top 5 quality, I think Reece Young will be making his way back into at least one of our lists, if not multiple.
Don't think he's gonna make it into mine, unfortunately, because mine is like I've said this multiple times, but EPs for me this year have at least been pretty good, and I don't know if this will crack it.
This probably cracks my top 10. Does it crack top 5? We'll have to see how the rest of this year shapes out and how much more time I continue to spend with it.
Got another EP with a new band for you all. Sun Order have dropped their EP, Reveal Yourself. This is a hard rock / like melodic alternative band. I can't believe how I can't remember how I found them. I think it was Instagram ads. But I think their song Desire was how I discovered them. And I went back, listened to this EP when it dropped. And it's pretty good. It's kind of in the same boat as Reece Young, where it's kind of consistent from top to bottom. There really isn't any like standouts for me in this EP. I did like the introduction from Leaders Rise into Leaders of the Fight. I think that was like just a really good transitional song into that. And Desire is probably still my favorite. I think Last One Standing is also pretty good. But it's unfortunately like where singles and EPs kind of fell for me. Albums kind of filled in a lot of the blanks this year or this month. And unfortunately, I didn't spend too much time with this, but it's still consistent and still pretty good. So I wanted to see how everyone else thought about it.
I think the opening to Desire is really cool. The way the song opens, it doesn't feel like a stereotypical verse. It's like the lyrics are very like intermittent, where you'll say one line and then a big instrumental gap and then another line and then a big instrumental gap for like the first like 45 seconds to a minute of the song. It's really cool. It sounds pretty unique to me. I didn't give the whole EP a listen, but I gave that and Leaders of the Fight a listen because they were the two songs that had a music video. I just like test the waters and see if I would enjoy it. And I think I'll echo most of what you said, that like it is fairly similar to Reece Young in the sense that it's like melodic hard rock with some heavier elements at times from the bits that I've heard. And overall, like, not doing anything wrong from what I listened to.
Yeah. Unless you two have anything else, we'll quickly move on from it.
I didn't get a chance to listen to it, so I wanted to hear your thoughts on it to see if it's something that I should get into, and I think I will. This is why, do you understand? I'm going to trust you with all my EPs for the rest of the year, I think.
Oh, no.
I think that's because now I can either blame it on you, or I can be like, Justin, thank you so much. Wouldn't that feel great? Don't you want me to do this? Wouldn't that be...
That is too much power.
Well, I'm taking it, buddy. Get ready. Strap in for December.
Oh, no.
Derek, did you ever listen to the Cold State EP?
Yes, I did. I really liked it, actually. It was really, I think I saved most of the songs.
I feel like that's the only EP that I could have possibly recommended to you in the past year, so I just had to double check on that one real quick.
No, I got you. I think it's sitting somewhere in my top 10. Where? Who knows?
We'll find out soon. Award season is coming upon us. Speaking of award season, this is probably going to be one of the biggest EPs of the year, I think, in terms of like the size of the band that's releasing an EP. Anyway, Kingdom of Giants have released their EP, Bleeding Star.
Do you not see the next one that I included?
Yes, I do. And that's why I said one of, not the biggest. Because typically you see EPs from mostly smaller bands. Like Sun Order is a really small band. Reece Young's currently sitting at 58,000 monthly listeners. Like, you don't see EPs from huge bands that often. I mean, unless you're Spiritbox, I guess. But Kingdom of Giants following up Passenger, which came out back in 2020. Long time in the making for this 6-song EP, and they kind of knocked it out of the park. There is a lot to like on this EP. I enjoyed every single song on here. Asphalt, the opener, is probably my favorite. Scorpion has some really memorable moments, has a really fun and memorable chorus, and then you get the breakdown with the Scorpion name drop, which I think is really cool. Bloodworm is the pissed off song on the album, which I don't always love the pissed off songs, but I feel like this year the short and quick pissed off metalcore songs have really been resonating with me, and Bloodworm's just another one for that collection. Smoke is a really nice break in the album for me. They're not the album, the EP. It starts out with like 30 seconds of instrumental, like synthwave sort of opening that I think is a really nice just break in the 6-song EP before you get into the really like airy and like synthwave inspired. It feels very influenced by Dayseeker, which makes sense given that they are on tour supporting Dayseeker right now. Smoke definitely feels very reminiscent of some Sleep Talk and Dark Sun era Dayseeker songs. And then you get to the last two songs in Wasted Space and Landslide. I didn't love Wasted Space when it came out, but the instrumentation just has a really unique sound. Like, I can't think of another song that has a riff that sounds quite like it. And then Landslide is a fantastic way to close this EP. And like, that's all 6 songs that I've just name dropped one by one with something that I enjoyed about each one of them. And I really don't have much to complain about. Like, just across the board, Kingdom of Giants nailed it as far as I'm concerned.
Unfortunately, I think this album is boring until you get to or EP is boring until you get to Landslide. I think Landslide is by far the best song and the only song worth saving here.
Damn.
I just really like the melodic approach of it as opposed to just metalcore.
So did you just think Smoke was boring then?
I must have. I listened to this EP once, and the only thing I and it was while I was driving, right? So, and the only thing I really enjoyed was Landslide.
Because Smoke, to me, is like a really melodic, like almost windows down sort of song, with like the whoa and the backing of the chorus. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying with Landslide.
I hope they play Landslide.
Yeah, Landslide. Like, if I had to rank the songs on here, I think I go Asphalt and Landslide top 2, and then Bloodworm, Scorpion, Smoke in the middle, and then Wasted Space, probably my least favorite. But even still, saying Wasted Space my least favorite is still a really solid song. I got nothing more to say, so if no one else has anything to add, Justin, I'll leave it to you to talk about our final EP of the month.
All right, we got one more EP, and it's from a big name artist. We've got Daughtry dropping his EP, Shock to the System, Part 1.
When gravity has its way, I'm looking for a way out now, looking for a higher ground.
I'm tired of this Part 1, Part 2 bullshit.
I mean, unfortunately, it makes sense for the state of the streaming right now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't care. More music, more music. I have to blame my friend Caitlin for getting me back into Daughtry. Because I didn't think I'd be talking about them on the podcast, which is really weird because that sound kind of blends in with what we talk about a lot. But I don't know. It feels like one of those bands that I thought I would not like be interested in bringing on. But when the EP dropped, I had already listened to Artificial in Pieces before, and then I gave the EP a couple listens through, and all in all, like, this is probably since their self-titled album like 15-20 years ago, I think this is probably like my favorite piece of like Daughtry work. At least I wasn't really invested in them when Cage to Rattle dropped. Baptized was okay. I really only like I think of Superman or Waiting for Superman. I think that's like the only song that I really enjoy off that album. But anytime I go back to Daughtry just in my own listens, it's always the self-titled. And growing up having heard him from American Idol. I think that was the first American Idol season I ever watched, and just recognizing his voice, enjoying it through there, and seeing now how he's progressed and grown almost 20 years later. His voice is like one of the most recognizable like solo, or not kind of solo, but like singular vocals in this kind of genre. And it's just super cool to see the progress of everything. And I think top to bottom, I think this is like the showing of what this band can do once they lead more into the heavier instrumentation. Because I think a lot of the previous albums was a lot more of acoustic sounding. This bleeds a lot more into like the drums, the guitar riffs. You can see a lot of that in Pieces, and it's just a super good EP top to bottom. The two new singles that dropped with this EP, Shock to the System and The Dam, I didn't quite catch on to on like first couple of listens. I'm growing on The Dam a little bit, but I still think they're like the weaker of the EP. Artificial and Pieces are probably still my favorite, but I like, all in all, this is like still one of the top alt rock bands of the scene, and it's still really good in my opinion.
So I'm assuming that there's going to be a Shock to the System part 2 and then an album or something like that.
No, it's just gonna be a part 3 just to fuck with you.
I see, I understand. I was not aware of his game.
Yeah, there's probably gonna be an album at some point. I would assume it's next year.
Daughtry is definitely one of those artists that, like, I feel like I've heard about since forever. Like, he was on the radio in the late 2000s when I remember him being talked about, like, when my mom was driving me around and we were just listening to local radio station. And it's just like he's still out there just making music, and I feel like I probably should be paying more attention.
Derek, did you get?
I also didn't know this came out. But realistically speaking, if there's a part 2, I'm just gonna wait for the album. I know it's better for streaming, like y'all are talking about, but I don't fuck with it at all. I'd rather just experience an album.
Totally fine.
What I will say is I think that it is really cool that we are talking about Daughtry, and I think it's also cool that Daughtry is a fan of bands in the scene, like Sleep Token. And it brings me a whole new level of respect for somebody who otherwise, like you said, I just watched growing up on American Idol. But yeah,
he featured in a Bad Wolves single earlier this year.
What's your bet on like the first like scene band that he would like be featured?
Breaking Benjamin.
Or get as a featured. Would you call Breaking Benjamin scene at this point though? Like I mean like think like almost emo adjacent, like a Sleep Token or something like that. Like what would be
Escape the Fate?
Oh yeah. Wow, that's actually a really good shout.
Probably. I mean, yeah.
Is Escape the Fate still around?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I don't know if they should be, but
oof.
I definitely saw recently that Escape the Fate's playing some music festival in Mexico that Falling Universe is headlining or something like that.
I mean, with the recent announcement of was it 3 Days Grace, their prior vocalist, coming back? Like, music's weird now.
Oh yeah.
We live in a simulation. Jacob, take us to our albums. Oh, before we get to albums, sorry, hold on. Two things. One, CANTERVICE. We already talked about that album. That we got that early.
Right.
So,
it should be in the playlist. Somebody put it there right now.
It's Jake's job. We talked about that album previously as a separate thing. So go check that out. We got that early. Thanks to the guys. And then there was one album that I forgot to include. Derek, I'm going to recommend you listen to it. Mayfield dropped their album.
It's not Kublai Khan.
No. Mayfield dropped their album, and I would definitely recommend it, but I forgot to include it. Whoop.
There's two albums that I left out of this playlist as well that I wanted to talk about, but for the sake of time, I'm leaving them out. And I figure I'll mention it while Justin's bringing it up. Debut album from Versus You, or spelled as VS/U. Justin, you introduced me to them last year at some point. Debut album came out this month, and pleasantly surprised across the board with that one. And then Our Hell, Our Home released their final album this month, and we aren't officially talking about it, but just figured I'd throw it out there. With all those,
Kublai Khan 2.
Also, I didn't put an album in here because it doesn't fit, but Tiffany Day just dropped her debut album, Lover Tofu Fruit, which is a fucking banger. So if anybody is interested in some fun electronic pop, get in there. Get in before it's too late. She's already getting billboards in New York City. So I tagged you in this one, Jacob. I said that you should listen to this. I'm pretty sure. So
Did you? Oh, is it the one that sounds like Ren for short?
yeah, or that I said was like
Okay.
this year's Ren for short for me. Like
Got it.
now it doesn't even matter if they sound like Ren for short. It's just if I find them and they're kind of in this vein, they're now the Ren for short of blank year. So this
Got
is
it.
the Ren for short of
I did
2024.
not listen.
I didn't know if you had. I didn't think you had, but I think that you would definitely enjoy it.
With all that out of the way, on to the actual album reviews for this month.
Boston Manor have released new album, Sundiver.
That's a really weird way to pronounce one of the best albums of this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I
Wow.
love this. Yeah. I saw you added it, so I thought that you might be high on it too. Are you telling me that that's not the case?
I like this album. I don't think it's as good as the previous album, and I don't think it's good as good as Welcome to the Neighborhood. Actually, you know what? I could be smoking so much shit right now. This album is better than Welcome to the Neighborhood.
You're so real for that. You are so
But-
fucking real for that.
But Daughtry is better than this album.
Now you've lost me.
I
I feel like this clears both of them, at least for me.
Oh, really?
But yeah.
I like, so there's aspects that I want to touch on here, like Daughtry Dawn it sounds a lot like Daughtry Dusk, the first track of the last album, but in a more bright atmosphere. And I Boston Manor's been really good at this with either the past 4 albums, I'd say. Like Welcome to the Neighborhood is very dark, and that you can even see that in the album cover. And then Glue, I'm gonna call it the counterpart, but I don't really think it's a counterpart. White album cover, and it's more similar to this. I don't think it was executed as well as this. And then they did the same thing with Daughtry and Sundiver. I think Container is a funny song just because the lyrics don't really make sense to me.
The
Yeah.
lyrics are a little goofy.
But it's really catchy.
Yes. Container, probably top 3 song on the album for me.
And I literally imagine him like in his kitchen, and he's like packing his lunch. And he's like, I just woke up like this container.
Dude, I'm never gonna not have that mental image now. Dang it.
And then he looks over at his backyard and he sees his sliding door while he's heating up his tea. No, okay, I'm bullshitting now.
And then he takes a nap on the back deck, eyes closed. and dreams about
exactly.
horses.
Exactly. Yeah, so Deftones influences a lot in this album.
Oh, absolutely.
And I've never been the biggest. I've never done like a Deftones dive, honestly, but I think I should at one point because I like a lot of bands that are influenced by Deftones, and I haven't given them the time of day. I think if I listened to them when they released their albums, I would enjoy it more. If that makes sense, like it had to be in that era when it was released. Anyway, I've glanced at Deftones, but a lot of the bands I like are influenced by them. I want to like Sleep Token, this, even the song on the Bring Me album, Limousine, very Deftones-esque. That's what I've heard. I don't. But yeah, this album is fantastic, honestly. I love how everything meshes together. I love how it contrasts with the previous album, and I think it was executed very well. I want to hear what you have to say though.
The Deftones influence is something that I think is definitely almost a selling point of this album. Like that's the thing that I appreciate the most about this, is the fact that there are a bunch of different, I don't even know if I want to call them influences, but similar bands that you can hear on this album. There's Deftones, there's Nothing But Thieves, there's Cage the Elephant, lots of different kind of alternative, grungy. I can't remember what song it is on here, but one thing, there's a verse or a chorus on here that reminds me a lot of Nirvana. And that something that I don't love about grunge or the grungy style is how negative it can sound sometimes. And I think that this album is bright enough in a lot of ways that it takes the best aspects of those bands and their influences and brings them forth in a way that is so distinctly Boston Manor. I hear all these different bands coming into their music, but at the end of the day, this is still very clearly a Boston Manor album, because nobody does it like Boston Manor. Nobody sounds like Boston Manor. Like, you can replicate it, but at the end of the day, they've kind of established this kind of corner for themselves in the scene and really honed in their sound.
I can't believe you like this album that much. I'm happy. I'm happy.
I am
too. Go
too.
back and listen to the previous one though.
I think so. I really didn't enjoy this alternative style of, I guess you can call it alt rock in a sense, until I was introduced by a couple of songs by my girlfriend. And then also the sheer amount of times I listened to Nothing But Thieves album last year. And what previously had not clicked for me is clicking for me now. So I think that this album is coming across at the very right time. Like, I'm peaking on my enjoyment of this type of music. And this album said, oh, hey, sure, we'll add some fuel to the fire. But it's less of like fuel and more like they just took like a couple gallons of gasoline and went, and then now it's like, all right, yep, I'm sold. Hook me in, light the fire, all good. Container's a kind of a strange song that I have yet to figure out, but I feel like this style of music really lends itself into that kind of lyricism sometimes. Put a funky couple of metaphors in there here and there, and you're good to go. But I also really appreciate how this album loops into itself in terms of the closer leading back into the opener. In that same vein, I think that my one complaint about this album is the way that Morning Star doesn't quite transition into Why I Sleep. It really rubs me just slightly the wrong way, because I feel like when you have a drum and bass interlude or any interlude like that either when you come out on the other side of it, there needs to be a big thematic switch, or it needs to lead into that next track. And there's just the slightest gap in playback that I'm like, all right, you're taking me out of it a little bit, you know? But maybe that's something that with more time with the album, I will either get used to or enjoy more. I think of Secrets off To Better Days, you know, how that switch up at the start, we were all like, what the fuck? Like, this doesn't sound good at all. And then now it's like, oh, yeah. Well, at least, did we all come to terms on that? I know I'm like changing subjects, but did we all end up enjoying
Secrets
that?
is a good song. Secrets is a good song.
Okay.
That's the one that ends abruptly.
Yeah, like cuts off the final chorus really abruptly and goes into this really chill.
I still don't like it, but I accept it.
Thinking it's going to be one of those types of scenarios for me. We'll see. But yeah, I didn't expect to like this as much, just because of my history with Boston Manor albums. Like, they were good, but I didn't think that it would be like great. But once I heard Horses in a Dream, I'm like, okay, we could be going somewhere. And the fact that really Horses in the Dream is the most distinctly sounding, like there aren't any other songs really on here I feel like that distinctly sound like it, but it still manages to fit in, be a strong song, and maybe not even the strongest song on the album. I really like Fornix. I don't know about you.
Bro, I dig. Every time I hear that song, I have to Google what a Fornix is.
I still don't know. Do you know? Do we got a definition on deck?
It's something in your brain. I can tell you that. Yeah, it's C-shaped bundle of white matter that is found in the mesial aspect of the cerebral hemispheres.
Can you explain?
part of your
English?
brain.
Yeah, dude, what the fuck?
Part of your brain. Part of your brain.
Do
Part
you know
of
what
your
it
brain.
does? Like, does it have a function?
Probably doesn't work for me.
I'm reading. There's a lot here. It's still not entirely clear.
Hey,
Mood.
fuck it, we ball.
That's funny.
Overall, I really like this.
Cutting the fornix can cause memory loss.
Ah, okay. Shit, I should probably go get that looked at. I think maybe my fornix is damaged. Head banged too hard and it's over for me. Jake, did you end up listening to this? Because I feel like you've had some comments here and there. I have a feeling you did, and you did, and you didn't like it as much as either of us. Is that the vibe that I'm getting?
It's better than Daughtry. I liked it more than Daughtry.
Based.
But overall, Boston Manor are not really a band that I'm ever that excited about. They're a band that I listen to, and I'm never really having a bad time, but I'm also not having a great time either. But like Boston Manor comes on, and if it's a Boston Manor song that I enjoy, I'm chill with it. You know, like I really enjoyed Container and Sliding Doors. Heat Me Up has a pretty memorable chorus. Why I Sleep is pretty good, but other than that, it's just Boston Manor. Their sound is not something that gets stuck in my head and something that hits my dopamine receptors in the way that many other bands do.
What was that Make Them Suffer song recently? Was it Oscillator that hit the... Yep.
Yep, that was in fact the reference.
I was about to say...
Did you?
Got him.
I already touched on this a little bit, but I think the Daughtry Dawn being very similar to Daughtry Dusk really, like, if you're familiar with the band, it really or if you're familiar with the last album at least, it really helps you get into the like the headspace of where this album is going. I think it's like perfect in how it sets the tone of the album. It's like, oh, you know this, but you also don't know this, and it's lighter.
I think you're right. I think I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it.
You have to. It's so good. That I think that album is like, it's shorter, but it's also I think it also loops back into it itself as really well. And there's a lot of ambience in that album, which I think is one of the selling points for me, honestly.
And that's why I didn't like Daughtry very much. I found it quite boring with all of the slow parts.
Man, they're all near the end though.
Yeah, still boring.
I think that was my number 4 when it came out, 2022, right? Maybe I can't remember. Something like that. It was in my top 5. I can tell you that for sure. Good album, and this is a good album. And I can't believe I said that is freaking better than Welcome to the Neighborhood. But it's true. Both these albums, these past 2 albums, are better than Welcome to the Neighborhood.
Times are changing. The future is now, old man.
Yeah.
My favorite Boston Manor song is still Carbon Mono off of that EP they did.
I haven't returned to that EP. I don't know if I...
That's my favorite thing Boston Manor has done.
Damn. One thing I don't like.
Actually,
I don't like Glue.
I need to revisit Welcome to the Neighborhood. Because that was better than I wrote. That was like better than I thought it would be. Even though, like, I know you guys hyped it up a lot, but after how whelmed I was by Glue, I really had low expectations, but it was actually pretty... Anyway. We get to move on to our next album then?
Yep.
Justin, take it away.
Fame on Fire have dropped their second album, The Death Card.
Third.
Third, yeah.
Well,
Oh, was it third? Okay.
yeah. I was gonna say we could say second if we want to ignore.
Just forget about
it was
Welcome to
Levels
the
and then
Chaos.
the other one, and now we're here.
Yeah, it's been 4
I
years
really
since
like
they
this
last
album.
dropped an album. Actually, they definitely didn't drop anything in 2022.
This is my most played album of the month.
of the year. It's a slip. He slipped.
Write that down. Write that down.
Of the last 30 days, according to Last FM.
Man,
And that is because this album is carried by 3 singular songs and no others. No
might be
Tomorrow, Spiral, and Chains are my
You
3
might be
favorite songs
cooking.
of this album.
You might be cooking, brother.
It's
No Tomorrow, Chains, and
phenomenal.
Spiral gap everything else on this album. and it's
I
not
don't like
close.
giving gaps because that's stupid, but otherwise, I think all the rest of the album is kind of mid compared to those 3 songs.
Nothing Left is pretty good too, but I mean, really, there is very clearly the top echelon of songs on this album. And as far as I'm concerned, at the very top is Spiral. I have waited half a year to talk about this song because I knew that, because Spiral I think was like the second single that come out, and I saw them grouped together as a single, and I'm like, okay, Fame on Fire, they're in an album cycle now, so I'm just gonna wait till the album comes out instead of talking about it as a single. I can finally talk about it. Spiral is one of my most played songs of the year. Just the hook of you're the poison inside my veins, memories I can't erase, you just keep pulling me under, you're the sickness inside of me, toxic insanity sending me into a spiral. And then the breakdown is also just phenomenal. One of my favorite Fame on Fire songs easily, and a song that find like the spring of this year for me. One of the most memorable songs of the beginning of this year, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'd say my
Just-
favorite on the album
it's-
is a tie between Chains and Spiral. No
It's
Tomorrow, I
just-
think, is my most played of the album, but I think that's just because like the other 2 are so high energy. Sometimes you don't kind of want to listen to that stuff. You kind of want to listen to more like slower stuff.
It's a little slower and more calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Fame on Fire, they have really dialed in on just perfecting the octane core sort of sound. And depending on who you ask, I think they're either more or less successful at that. But like the peaks that they show on this album it is like undeniable that they know how to write a catchy melody with really fun riffs.
I think
It's
this
just
is their
that,
best
can
album.
they pull it off? I would agree. It's just, can they pull that off for like 10 to 12 songs consistently? I would say that is yet to be proven. But their peaks are well up there with some of the best making this sort of post-hardcore, hard rock, metalcore, catchy melodies with guitar riffs and breakdowns and all that sort of stuff. They can be at the top of their game, they just aren't consistently.
Yeah. That's about where I'm at.
Guys, I can't believe I'm about to say this.
No way.
Yeah.
I really liked this album.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's go.
It's a sigh of relief.
Oh my
Man.
god.
I didn't even listen to it. 'Cause I was like,
Now you
"It's
have
Fame
to
on
because
Fire."
Derek likes it.
It's Fame on Fire. I can't
That's-
listen to this. Oh
That's
my
where I
God.
was at. And I was like, well, I didn't like Levels. I thought Levels was kind of corny. I thought their last album, what was it? Welcome
Welcome to the chaos, baby.
to Chaos. Yeah, that shit was awful. That's one of the worst albums I've ever heard. I can't lie. Like, I just, on so many levels, did not enjoy that album. And I thought, you know what? It can't get any worse. I got 40 spare minutes. Let's get in there, because I can't continue to hate on the band if I don't give their new material a chance. I went into this with a hater mentality.
Mm.
And I
And
think
we're
that
proven
this
wrong.
yeah, honestly, I mean, this is leagues and leagues better than Welcome to the Chaos. I
They
mean,
took your criticism.
it certainly
took it
seems like
They
personally.
listened. They listened.
I can't believe how much better this is. I think, and this coming from somebody who's very disillusioned with metalcore this year and has more or less been very pop oriented. I think that they really show their roots as a cover band here in terms of understanding pop melodies and vocal hooks, but they've leveled up their instrumentation from the last album. They've toned down the things that didn't work. It certainly sounds like, at least, taken a more introspective look at their lyrics and their writing, and it's great. I saved, I think, every song on this album besides Unalive and the closer, which I still thought was a good closer. I think what it took maybe for them is, this is on some level a concept album, right? In terms of all the songs being named after different tarot cards. But which I was gonna mention, like that's an easy motif for me. Yeah, I recently watched JoJo's. They might have.
What
was it? Did they do that with the tarot cards, or was it with the elements, or was it both?
The latest album, the really heavy one, Incarceration.
Oh yeah, they did. The Emperor, Temperance. Yep. So it makes me want to go listen to that In Heart's Wake album.
It's really heavy. It's like a deathcore album.
Oh geez. Okay. Well, you know what? Fuck it. I'll give it a try. Fame on Fire are making me want to go listen to another band's music and then come back to theirs. What world am I living in? I don't know. I feel like all the aspects of this band that made them feel to me like, this is almost a fucked thing to say, but you haven't earned the title of like a real band, in the same way that I think Our Last Night has regressed from being a real band. I think that these guys had the worst growing pains of all time and have turned it into something that's honestly really enjoyable. It's not the most impressive thing you'll hear all year. There's nothing super technical about it. It's not mind-blowing. It's not pushing any boundaries, but what it's doing is hard rock, and it's leaning into metalcore in some ways, and it's doing it really, really well with a great ear for melody and a great understanding of what works and what doesn't. I don't feel like it got repetitive at any point. There were great motifs throughout the album and each individual song. The songwriting felt way more mature. I think that this is an album worth listening to and recommending, which I would have never in a million years thought that I'd be saying that about this album, about a Fame on Fire album. But they of all, we've got an award for most improved band of the year artist, right? All right. Yep. Sorry to spoil it. I know who my title's going to. I mean, this is what it's like night and day. This is one of those artists where you know what, you find an artist like randomly through shuffle and you hear a song you really like and you go back and their discography doesn't sound at all the same and it's just really disappointing. That's this.
You know what's crazy about the night and day analogy though? If you look at the cover art for Welcome to the Chaos, there's a moon on that.
It's nighttime.
It's like even look how, you know, I shouldn't say it about the art, but look how much more mature and organized looking the album Fire is, or the album cover is.
The album Fire.
Album Fire, yeah. I'm looking at Fame on Fire on the cover, but no, I mean, like, it really does feel like they like went through the musical equivalent of puberty and are like adults now. Like, seriously,
I'm so happy for them.
I don't know how else to put it. I'm not sure this is a top 10 album of the year, just because, like I said, it doesn't have necessarily a lot to offer at its peaks. I feel like its peaks aren't super, super high, but its valleys aren't low at all. And it's just very consistently really good, really easily digestible music. I really like this. I'm surprised, but Fame on Fire put out a really good album.
Love to see it.
Jacob, you have to listen now.
I will. One day.
Someday. Jake, take us forward.
Let's talk about Future Palace's third album, Distortion.
Take a seat, 'cause there is no reason. It's just so tied up inside. A fool on the devil's
I had very high expectations coming in. I think it's not a secret that one of my favorite bands I've discovered in the past few years, their debut album placed in my top 5. Their sophomore album in 2022, Run, placed just shy of my top 5. And some of the singles leading into this album were on constant repeat. Memphis was incredible when that dropped as a single last year, and I was not shy in saying the stretch of The Echoes of Disparity, Dream State, and Decarabia were all also really well, as much as The Echoes of Disparity's kind of fallen off. With that being said, I have not connected with this album in the same way that I have their past two. And I think I'm coming to the unfortunate realization that I am not in love with Future Palace's genre switch to metalcore. I think they can do it, but I think that Maria's Queen vocals and the emotion in her Queens were something that I resonated with so much. And because of the genre switch, she isn't allowed to sing in those ways in the same way that she was on the debut album or on Run. But also, with that being said, I still really enjoyed this album.
You just summed up what I think about Imminence.
Interesting. You know, I think I agree with you on that too, though. I think Imminence is also in the same hole. With that, like, criticism out the way that I'm not resonating with this as much because of it being heavier in nature, there are still moments on here that I really resonated with. Dream State, as I said when we talked about it as a single back in June, it feels very reminiscent of some of their older albums. You get the synthy piano melody and some very emotional lyrics in that song. You also get one of my favorite breakdowns I've heard all year in Dream State, the just really slow atmospheric breakdown that I've kind of been in love with on songs like False Meridian, and there's some Relica song that did it as well, A Spark, and now Dream State did it as well. And then when it comes to the new songs, Panic Paralysis, the first non-single on the album, I thought it had a really catchy chorus. I really, in particular, liked the line of at the end of the chorus where it says, "Can't move or think, and I keep fighting my own mind," before it goes into the main riff of the song. I really enjoyed that, one of the more memorable moments on this for me. And then you get to the back half of the album, which, as I kind of hinted at, I haven't resonated with as much, with one major exception, and that being They Take What They Want, which is one of the most unique metalcore songs I have heard all year. It's the one time where I feel like Future Palace leaning into metalcore has truly worked on this album, whereas I feel like the rest of the album is, I wouldn't say playing it safe, but it feels familiar to fans of Run. They Take What They Want feels like an experiment in the opposite direction of A World in Tears, whereas A World in Tears was a more electronic, poppy, experimental song on their last album. They Take What They Want feels like the even heavier experimental song on this album. And I don't know if it has to do with all of the conflict that's going on in the world, but that's kind of the interpretation of the song that I took with, and they take what they want and not what they need. They are proof that us humans are the most horrible beast. And then by the end of the song, you get a change of perspective, where Maria belting out in one of my favorite harsh deliveries of the entire year, "I take what I want and not what I need. I am the alpha and the rest is too weak. Give it to me, it belongs to me. Kill them all. I want them all to flee. I'll make you all feel like you stare into infrared. I want every single one that doesn't obey to be on their deathbed." And you have to listen to the song, because trust me, Maria's vocal delivery there, like there's no way I can do that final chorus justice for how insane. It's, again, one of the few moments this year where I've gone back to a specific timestamp in a song just to re-listen to a moment in a song. I think of A Spark by Relica, that ending breakdown. There was some song that we talked about last month where I said the same, Dying to Let You Go by Inertia. The breakdown at like the 1.5 minute mark in that song, the build up into that breakdown was something that I was just so obsessed with that I skipped the first minute of the song just to hear it. And they take what they want. I would skip to the end of the song just to hear that final chorus and Maria just letting it fucking rip and just head banging to shit while I'm alone in my room late at night. I fucking love They Take What They Want. My second favorite song on the album for sure. With that being said, the other songs on here, In Too Deep, Rays of Light, and A Fool on the Devil's Reigns. As I said, they all kind of tread on similar sounds of post-hardcore / metalcore. Maria's clean vocals are phenomenal as always. It's just, I'm not resonating with the sound or the lyrics in the same way that I was 2 or 4 years ago. And maybe that's because I'm grown up. I'm 24 years old now. I'm not in my early 20s. I mean, I'm in like my mid 20s. But I was going through things 4 years ago that I'm not going through with now. In Future Palace, the songs they were writing back then were things that I really resonated with and helped me get through some of those harder times. Whereas now I feel like the sound and the message, it's still there, but I'm just not clicking with it as much, which is unfortunate because I really want to love this. Yeah, because there are moments on here that I do truly love, but the album, when I think of this album, I don't think of an Instalock top 10 album of the year in the same way that I was with their last 2 albums. The last point that I want to make on the lyrics here is that I do feel like they have, I don't know if I want to say matured, but I feel like there is a common theme across this album of discussing social issues. The Echoes of Disparity obviously is about women's rights and abortion. Panic Paralysis is just a general song about like feeling frozen from all of the chaos in the world. And then Dream State is a song about wanting to escape it all. And then the final stretch of songs, A Fool on the Devil's Reigns, They Take What They Want, and Amethyst, all have to do with the impact that social media has on our lives and how we are being constantly fed negativity for the most part. That the negativity in the world seems to always go viral, in the conflict and disagreeing viewpoints and conflict and it's not healthy for us. And I think it does a decent job at relaying those ideas. As I said, I'm not resonating with this as much. I resonated more with them just talking more generally about mental health. I'm not as much of a doom scroller as many people are. Like, I'm not someone that is constantly on my phone seeing all the shit that's going on in the world. I feel like I have fairly good self-control to kind of take myself out of the doom cycle, so to say. I think it's an important topic to be discussed, but it's just, I'm just speaking over myself. It's fine. That's kind of all I have to say. This is still a fantastic post-hardcore / metalcore. I definitely, whereas with Run, I would say post-hardcore with metalcore. I'd say that this album is metalcore with post-hardcore influences now at this point. And Future Palace is still unbelievably talented. I would love to see them in America one day, and if they're anywhere near me, I am there because I need to see this band live one day. But I am not as connected with this album as I would have hoped to be. That's my spiel. Eric, have I convinced you?
Absolutely.
That. Curious to see if you have any more thoughts when this makes my top 10 at the end of the year or not. We'll see. Time will tell. Since Justin and Jacob, I assume you guys don't have too much to add on Future Palace, let's talk about an 18-song album. And also my most played album of the month.
I will be listening to this no matter what you say. Please proceed. I see 81 track 81 on this playlist. Bad Day to Be a Beer. This album is for me. I am so after hearing Money Where Your Mouth Is, get me in there. All right, go ahead, Jake.
Let me introduce you all to Lakeview's self-titled debut album.
I work my fingers to the bone till I ain't got nothing left. I earned everything I own. sign my name with blood and sweat, and it goes one time if your boots get money.
18 songs, 56 minutes long. And this is the country meets rock influence that I feel like has been maybe not necessarily a long time coming, but something that I feel like it's about time that a band has taken country and rock, put them together, and made it work in the way that Lakeview has made it work here. There are a lot of really fun and memorable songs on this album. Home Team, Money Where Your Mouth Is, Why, Say It First, Dying Breed, Wrong Side of the Track. I really like all those songs. But with country comes the stereotypical country lyricism and sound. And when they mix it with rock, I am on board. When the country overpowers the rock, I am asleep at the wheel. I am crashing that truck into a river, bro. It just, like, as I said, this is my most played album of the month, and for good reason. Like, I think you cut this album in half, you take like 7 or 8 songs off of this, and this is a top 10 album of the year contender. But there is so much fat on this album that I am so uninterested in that it makes it like, this is an album that I add my 10 favorite songs into a playlist, and I'm like, damn, this is incredible. But then I remember that there's 8 other songs in here, and if I wanted to consider this for my top 10, I have to listen through a stretch in the middle of the album of Bad Day to Be a Beer through Here Lies a Girl. That stretch of 5 songs bored the shit out of me and completely killed any chance of this having a top 10 run. But then I listened to the rest of it, and I'm like, Home Team and Why and Money Where Your Mouth Is are probably going to be, they're probably going to end up in my Spotify Wrapped for how infectious the chorus and the melody of those songs are. And like, typically if an album is getting 3 songs in my Spotify Wrapped, that's like a pretty good sign that it's like one of my favorite albums of the year. It's a weird case of the genre blending where I think country artists are able to get away with longer albums more. Now, take that with a grain of salt. I'm not a country listener. I don't listen to country albums on the regular. But that's just kind of the sense that I get, that country albums are more about just having a good time and family values and respect and honesty, and less about the more deeper meaning that you can get out of rock and metal albums and concept albums in the scene. I don't know if any of that even makes sense, but for what it's worth, if you enjoyed Bill Murray's album from earlier this year, I think that you will find at least a couple songs on here that are enjoyable. I also think that most people will find a couple of songs on here that they are not resonating with at all. And it's hard to evaluate an album that is this long, in the sense of, as I said before, like, there's a lot of songs on here I've had on repeat all month, but there's a lot of songs that I really just do not care for. This is one of those albums that it's a debut self-titled album, and I think it's very definitive of Lakeview's sound. But as far as I'm concerned, I think most people are better off treating this as a collection of singles and reap the singles that you like on this album for as much as they are worth, because there is a lot to like here. I guess I'll dive into some of the lyrics while I'm at it. On Home Team, it's the album opener, probably my favorite song on the album above Money Where Your Mouth Is. This is for the good old boys who's knee deep in the concrete, working 60 hours because he's saving for a diamond ring. This is for the single mom that's working on a double shift, cleaning off a plate so she can fill the one to feed her kids. And that I think really kind of sets the tone for what this album is about. It's you kind of just know. It's kind of just lays it out how it is. It's very much a tell, don't show, instead of a show, don't tell sort of album, where we're not speaking in metaphors across this album. You are being told exactly how it is. And I think that's to this album's benefit for the most part. As someone that works from home and edits videos, I'm not relating to the 60-hour-a-week grind, but it's still fun to listen to. And then in Why, which is probably the most emotional song on the album, at least the one that I resonated with the most. It's WHY, which obviously Y is a word, but it's also an abbreviation for in the chorus of hate to, but I gotta ask why is this so hard for you? Because I don't think you ever told the truth. Bet somebody left a hole in your heart. What the hell did they put you through? So why lie, baby? Who hurt you? I think abbreviating why as a question into who hurt you is just fantastic songwriting, and definitely the new song that I resonated with the most, because Home Team and Money Where Your Mouth Is were both singles leading into this album. And you also get a lot of really fun lyrics on Dying Breed, Wrong Side of the Track. How'd you end up on the wrong side of the track? In the chorus, really good. Son of a is a really fun song. Like, my mama wouldn't want me to say this, but I'm a beer loving son of a bitch. It's just fun. And then Money Where Your Mouth Is, obviously we talked about it as a single. You get the Gideon feature for a really fun and sick breakdown. If you got something to say, step on up to the plate, name a time, name a place. Yeah, I don't think I have too much more to add. I feel like I've kind of been all over the place with my review of this album, but in general, 18 songs. If you like rock and if you like some aspects of country music, I think Lakeview are at the forefront of the country rock movement right now. I will pass the torch over to Jacob to talk about your new find for the month.
Not just me. Apparently, a lot of people have found this album. I've been seeing a lot of people talk about it on Twitter. But 156 Silence have released album People Watching.
Can we talk about the band name real quick before we get into the album?
Sure.
What the fuck is 156 Silence?
No idea.
What the fuck is that band name? One of the stupidest, corniest band names I think I've ever heard.
Whoa. I think it's unique enough that it's kind of sick.
It's unique, but I'm like, it's one of the, like, if I was discovering this band in like 2018 to 2020, back when like Awaken I Am pissed me off as a band name, I would not give this band a chance just based off of the band name alone, because I thought it was stupid.
It sounds like a hardcore band, honestly.
It does. I thought they were before I listened to their 2022 album.
The band name reminds me of that one Kingdom Hearts game, 358 over 2 days.
I don't know.
It has like a stupid ass fraction. Kingdom Hearts is weird.
Besides the band name, what intrigued me about this is the freaking album art.
I don't blame you for that one.
It is
creepy.
It's honestly so well done. I think it encapsulates the tone or feel of the album so well. And yes, it's creepy. It's haunting.
As I feel like this album is as a whole.
Yeah. Also, the track names are something else that I think added to my intrigue for this album. It's like coupled with the album art, but honestly, I think so. I enjoyed this album. I think it's all right. I haven't done the biggest deep dive into the lyrics, but I generally get the idea. I think maybe Derek has done more than me, but I'm hoping.
I have not. I'm interested to hear your take on it.
So yeah, I think it's about a stalker. Is what it sounds like to me. And yeah, I don't really have much to go off of that, but
No, I think I'm glad that you say that, because I thought at first it was about like the recovery after a relationship ending and like the darkness around that. Like it was not an amicable breakup. But the creepier it got and the more uneasy the album made me feel, I started to get the feeling that maybe whatever relationship was going on here, it wasn't something that had happened. It was something that was ongoing without the consent of one person involved, which is like almost at the end, I feel like the person the stalker is coming to terms with the fact that like they can't have the person that they were stalking, or like they weren't able to reach them or anything like that. I don't know, it's weird. But the context of people watching and the kind of highs and lows emotionally that get represented here, and at the end, like the dejected kind of like you wouldn't get it type of thing. I don't know. I think you're spot on. I only listened twice, but
I've listened a few
right.
times, and I really wish I did a deep dive of lyrics. Honestly, it's just so. The thing about this for me is sonically, I think the mix isn't the greatest.
No.
And that's it's a small band, right? I don't know how many listeners they have. Actually, I haven't.
They've got 168,000 right now. I can tell you right now, it was not nearly that much in 2022.
Yeah, everybody's been talking about this. But yeah, I've gripes with the mix. The thing that pulls me, honestly, the album artwork is so fucking good. I cannot express this enough how intriguing the album artwork is. But yeah, the mix isn't the greatest. I think there's some creative things done in this album with guitars, and even in vocals. There's some there's a few songs where it's not really cleans. It's more like him just like talking, like he's like monologuing. I think the last two songs are the best songs on the album, in my opinion.
I don't agree, but I'll give it to you.
Man.
I think that the comment about the mix is interesting, because I agree, but I also feel like the production on here is good. Like really good. Like they did a great job with the bass on this album.
Yeah.
There are certain production, I believe it's in Healing Process or Terms and Conditions. It's one of the two, but there was this very distinct, like back and forth kind of eerie sounding sound that I really enjoyed and I thought was really creative. And in my head, when I was listening to it, I'm like, damn, they did a really good job with the production. But I do think that the vocal mix is a little samey, I guess would be a way to put it. Like I definitely like zoned out on Target Acquired. It just there was a lot going on that didn't have a lot of variation and felt kind of flat. And I'm like, okay, well, this isn't the best way to start off an album. I feel like I'm getting a bad first impression here. And it does pick up, but I think there is a great idea, and I think it's executed well. I think that some of the choices on here are holding this album back as a whole. Like, for instance, Character Development and Target Acquired have pretty much the exact same structure. They both have a big breakdown at the end. And to me, that means that neither of them are really giving me massive opener energy.
Right.
And when they have the same structure, I'm kind of left a little like, iffy about going into the rest of the album. It's not a great way to pick up steam and to bring the flow of the album along. I think it brings you right back in with Sleep Spikes. It's a very interesting interlude and being, okay, well, where are we going with the rest of the album? But I'm not super... I'm sold on this album in the sense that it intrigues me off of the album art and potential concept alone. Sonically...
Yes, that you're saying what I believe right now.
Okay.
I think the execution, maybe shorten it.
Honestly, yeah. Although I'm hesitant to say that because I don't fully understand the album yet. Sonically, yes. I think there's fat that could be trimmed on here. But I don't want to say that completely, whatever it's called, confidently yet. Once I get the album, then I can make a decision. But yeah, it definitely does, at least upon listening to it without being invested in whatever story is here, it definitely does feel like there are some songs on here that I could do without, comparative to some of the other songs that are similar on the album. I do still think this is worth a listen. Just because almost, if you enjoyed the eerie feeling of the Knocked Loose album earlier this year, this is something that's kind of in a similar vein. Not as well executed, but the vibe is the same.
And I think the lyrics are a little, it's a different topic.
Yeah.
As well. So you're yeah.
I checked out some of the singles for this just because I was curious. I thought product placement was decent. I liked the Queen vocals in the chorus. But based on the other songs I heard, I don't know how much of that there is on the rest of the album.
I think
that's kind of all I have to say.
Yeah, the most accessible song on here, if anybody wants a taste tester or just an introduction, would be Better Written Villain. I think would probably be
I think that's the most popular one too.
That's the one that I
checked out Better Written Villain and product placement, and I liked product placement way more than Better Written Villain, so that tells me that I'm probably not gonna love this album, but creepy album art, cool.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Almost made me want to buy a vinyl copy. It's kind of like, it's one of those instances where it's like a what's that band that released it was Hyperviolence?
Wind Waker.
Yes, it's one of those albums where the art is so cool that I want to buy the album, so I'm upset that I don't like it more than I do.
me with yours truly and Toxic.
Honestly, yeah. I'd be curious to see if they try another concept album, what they do in the future, because people have been talking about this all over. I've been seeing lots of discussion about this on Twitter. With that being said, how about we go to Australia? I think.
Yep. We have Void of Vision with their brand new album, What I'll Leave Behind. The follow-up to the Chronicles series of EPs, and as far as I'm concerned, this is a step up.
You know what? I was during the singles. I didn't think I'd like the direction Void of Vision was going with taking a back seat with the electronics taking a back seat.
A lot of the non-singles bring back some of the electronics, though.
That's what I was gonna say. This is their best album.
I guess I would have to agree because I've only heard Chronicles otherwise. But
honestly, me too.
Okay, all right, fair. But I think a lot of the best songs on here are the non-singles. I think Empty is my favorite, but other than that, Oblivion, Midnight Sweat, and Decades are all phenomenal. Neurotic is also pretty solid. Angel of Darkness is the closer, I think is just fine, I guess. And Gamma Knife as a single is also just fine. But everything else here, I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to.
Yeah, me
given
too.
how underwhelmed I was with most of the Chronicles era. Oblivion, I've gone back to a lot this month. The post first chorus verse of "Am I exactly what you?" Nope, that's the wrong line on my notes. Where is it? Where is it? As everything's collapsing, I'm breaking through the static. All I can see is red, but I'll keep screaming till I'm fucking dead. I loved that part. And then I also feel like, in general, across this album, they lean into more clean vocal choruses than I'm used to in the past. I know in Oblivion, that's probably my favorite. But there's a couple other songs throughout the album that incorporate more clean vocals in the chorus that feel pretty melodic and airy and atmospheric that I really enjoyed. And then I haven't touched on Blood for Blood yet. That's probably the heaviest song on this album, I would say. It's also not the shortest, one of the shortest songs on the album though. It's pretty heavy front to back. The riffs are incredible. The electronics at the end, where you get this brief like build up into the final breakdown that feels like dubsteppy almost. I really like that, and I kind of wish the breakdown was like fully electronic instead of like a guitar riff breakdown. That would have been really sick. But either way, I really liked that final build in Blood for Blood. And as I've said, the electronics on other songs like Midnight Sweat and Decades, Neurotic, like really solid.
Yeah, I was honestly pleasantly surprised. I thought I wouldn't enjoy, like, I still think the electronics have taken a step backwards from the previous album, but not so much as I said previously, where I think they've lost their identity. This still feels like Void of Vision.
Oh yeah,
and I think it's executed better as a whole. I'd go as far to say as I think, I can't remember which EP it is. It's the EP with Hell on it. Is better than this album, but as the whole Chronicles album, I think this album is better. What I'll Leave Behind is better.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add. I feel like I've gone over all the songs that I enjoyed the most here.
I'd love to. I didn't do a lyrics dive, but based on the artwork, I'm guessing this is about what's his name? Jack's struggle with his illness. That's what I'm gonna guess.
I think from the couple of lyrics that I picked out, I think that's on track. I think that checks out.
I don't remember what his illness is exactly, Derek. Maybe
I don't know either.
Maybe you know. Maybe he's not here. But yeah,
good album. Surprisingly good album. And that takes us to
the big guns.
The big guns. Let's talk about what is quite possibly the most anticipated album of the month for all of us as a group. And a band that is no stranger to our top 10 end of year lists. We have Rain City Drive with their third album, Things Are Different Now. Justin, you've been pretty quiet for a while, so I want to give you the floor to start us off on this discussion.
Rain City Drive are good.
Cool. Thanks, Justin.
You're welcome. No, I think this is probably their best work, in my opinion.
That's hard for me to say because I was the only one of us all to have To Better Days as my album of the year in 2020.
We had it, Derek and I had it as 2, right?
You guys had it in your top 3, but I think I was the only one that had it at 1.
Yes.
So
just like the death.
I am treading in dangerous waters if I declare that Things Are Different Now is better than To Better Days come award season in a few months. So I have to leave things a little ambiguous because ultimately I don't even know where this album stands. We've only had it for a week at this point. But at the very least, I think this is a step up from their self-titled album 2 years ago. And
I mean, that's not hard.
Better,
that was the weakest
if it's
album.
not better than To Better Days, it is within striking distance.
I think this album has higher highs for me compared to Better Days, but I think To Better Days bit more consistent top to bottom? Is it a bit easier to listen?
I'd go the opposite way.
I would also
I'd
go
say
the opposite.
this is more consistent.
That's why I said to me.
Well, and that's why we're saying
Yeah,
to me.
That's
I
fair.
The opposite.
What were you saying, Jacob? Because I did cut you off.
Just that's the opposite. I think this is more consistent and better days has more highs. I think maybe it's just me, but I think they leaned more into the rock than the pop in this album.
Yeah.
There's a couple of poppier songs on here. Like I think Concrete Closure, and I think you could argue Disarm the Hourglass as well are more pop. But yeah, other than that, I think there's some heavier moments on this album, like in Medicate Me, that ending breakdown, and I think we'll get to Sacrifice later, but Sacrifice as well. I think the general sentiment that I wanted to get off with this album was such a breath of fresh air to me. 2024, there have been a lot of bands to release albums this year that I have felt somewhat let down or disappointed in. Think of bands that were previous top 10 album of the year winners. That's the best word I can come up with. Bands that were previously on some of my previous top 10 albums and compare them to albums they released this year. Nothing more. Spirits was incredible. Carnal this year, it was a bit of a letdown, not a top 10. You think of Mothica, who released Kissing Death last month. Nocturnal was one of my favorite albums of 2022. Kissing Death is good. It wasn't as good as Nocturnal. And I could say that about so many other bands. Stand Atlantic, their new album is weaker than their last album. Future Palace, their new album is weaker than their last album. Who the fuck else is that?
Boston Manor.
Sure, we can go with that. But there's a number of bands that have released... Siamese, that's another one that released a better album a few years ago. Wage War. They've all released better albums in the past, and their newest album's disappointing. Rain City Drive, for the first time in what feels like months, are a band that I have previously held to an extremely high regard that did not drop the ball for me. I did not come out of my first listen of this album disappointed. I did not come out of the first album listen thinking, oh, I wish it was better in this way, or I'm not resonating with it in this way. I came out of this album on my first listen, and after multiple listens in the week since it released, satisfied and honestly relieved. Because it has been such a trend this year for so many of previously my favorite bands to release new albums that did not live up to the expectations that maybe I unfairly placed on them. But Rain City Drive absolutely came out swinging with this one from front to back.
Derek?
I think this is Rain City Drive's best album.
Wow.
Oh, absolutely.
That's bold.
I will say, I think it ends the strongest of any of their albums and starts the weakest. I don't really love Lose My Composure as an opener, and I think Wish You the Best is the weakest song on this album lyrically.
I knew you were gonna say that before.
Yeah, you know,
Asshole.
sonically, lyrically, it's just not my thing. I think that this starts really weak but recovers really well. And I think it's just by virtue of the fact that almost any song on here sounds like it could be a single, but it doesn't feel like a collection of singles. And when you have songs that strong, able to string themselves together, you're in for a treat. Medicate Me is still just so ridiculously catchy.
Medicate Me grew on me.
Medicate Me,
Me
is
too.
unbelievable.
Me too.
Feature of the year contender for sure.
Not for me, but I can see the enjoyment.
I
can't believe that.
So Derek, I agree with you that the album starts weak, but I don't agree that Lose My Composure is bad.
It's just, it's there. It's not a great opener. It's an okay song. I don't know. I feel like the rest of the album is just so much better than those first two that it really, they're outshined by what comes after them. So when you're leading with that, it's like, Like I would rather have these songs as like something like a track 7 that I can be a little disappointed in, and then it picks back up. Like it kills the replayability of the album a little bit for me. But it Sacrifice, for everything that Lose My Composure is not as an opener, Sacrifice I would say makes up for it as a closer. I
One of the
couldn't
most
believe it.
unique songs that Rain City Drive has ever put out, and honestly, something I never expected them to do.
No, never in a
Like,
million years. I
Rain
can't
City
believe it.
Drive for 5 years now have been at the pinnacle of post-hardcore meets like pop rock. You know, their songs have incredibly catchy melodies with consistently quality riffs and verses. You know, but they've always been one to stick to kind of a similar formula of the verse chorus bridge chorus song ends sort of structure. You know, Sacrifice feels like a song that you would get from like a Sleep Token or a Bad Omens, but
And
it's
also
Rain City Drive.
and also
And they
bold to
fucking
put
nailed
it as the last song.
Yeah,
Like you said, they're very formulaic. I think in terms of album structure too, both previous albums that we've ended with a slower song, Like I Do, and I can't remember the other one. But
Like I Do is still my favorite of the 3 album closers, though.
I think I like Sacrifice more.
I am too emotionally attached to Like I Do, and that's my fault. It's crazy that Sacrifice is like one of the best songs on this album, but it's also mid-table on this album. And I think that just says a lot about how good songs on this album are.
Man, I think Sacrifice is the best song.
Like, as far as I'm concerned, Sacrifice is either like I think it's my 5th favorite song on the album. But it's still like incredible.
So
And Sacrifice on like many other albums I've heard this year would be the best song on them. But Rain City Drive are just that fucking good that it can be like a mid-table song.
So what I think this album is missing that Rain City Drive doesn't do, and I haven't really done a deep lyric dive, honestly, and I probably should.
I have done a bit of a lyric dive.
Okay, maybe you can.
Bit of
Maybe
story,
there is no talk to a friend kind of song with the what's the other one? There's an alternative on the it's Eternity on the self-titled.
Weird, because I think it was Disarm the Hourglass. I think kind of had that feeling with the second verse.
Let me see.
That's what I was
hindsight,
comparing.
I kind of got it from Neverbloom. The second verse in Neverbloom, the don't want to make a sad song into your legacy using the same 4 chords and stock melody. Is that,
You know what?
that
I'll give
line?
it to you. I'll give that one to you, Jake. Justin, what are you talking about?
I think in Disarm the Hourglass there's a bunch of questions that are asked, and I think that's where I was coming from. I don't know. I don't have the lyrics pulled up. I'll pull them up real quick.
This is reminding me of something. The part where he's asking questions is how, keep this in mind when you pull me close. How many rocks up against the coast? How many times at the whipping post before we lose all feeling? So
yeah,
it actually reminds me of Eternity, which draws like a parallel. Anyway, I think it's like a small throwback to Eternity. Anyway.
Do you want me to kind of talk about the story that I see in this album then? Like, it's not a super deep story, but I was able to piece together like a bit of progression from front to back on this album.
Before we do that, I know Derek said he enjoyed Aware, and I want to hear why, because I think it's one of the most unique songs on the album, but it hasn't really connected with me.
There's just something about the way that it flows. I admittedly have not given this album as many spins as I should, but Aware on first impressions to me felt like Rain City Drive at their best, while still pushing the boundaries in a way that felt safe. And I don't know if that makes any sense.
That's what I thought of it too. So
okay, good. Yeah,
Aware is like my top 3 songs of the album.
we talked about it a little bit, or at least made mention of it, but Brain City Drive are a little formulaic, but they do that formula really well. I feel like Aware takes that formula and pushes it forward a little bit in the same way that I appreciated. We're doing a throwback in this playlist, but in the Infection by Memphis May Fire.
Right.
That sort of same type of experimentation is what I got from Aware, but it was still safe enough that it A, felt like it was, working in the context of everything, and B, that it didn't take me out of it. It felt like the rest of the album, it continued to hype me up leading up to this point, and the momentum is still going, and this is the pinnacle. I think that might also be, I feel bad, Justin, because you just agree with me on how good Aware is, but why Disarm the Hourglass I didn't quite enjoy as much, because it felt I wanted it to keep going, and it didn't.
That's fine. My favorite is still Never Bloom. So
good choice. Good choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Never Bloom is top 3 for me. Maybe. Yeah, it's top 3. I go Medicate Me, Wish You the Best, Never Bloom.
Even the songs that I don't enjoy as much on here, I feel like anybody could say like, "Oh, this is my favorite song," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I can see it." Like, there's just so many strong tracks on here with such great hooks. Nobody's doing it.
Dude, I'm getting like deja vu from like 2020. Like when we talked about this band, their first album.
Yeah,
what a great time.
Yeah. Like, it's undeniable. I think
for the album, not the world.
Yeah, not the world. So every time 2022's album was a bit hit or miss between us. Waiting on You is still my second favorite Rain City Drive song behind Talk to a Friend. So like that album wasn't a complete miss. That was one of my favorite songs ever on it. But Rain City Drive, for as long as we've been doing this podcast, have always been, I feel like, the place where all 4 of us can agree the most.
Yeah.
Anyone else think this album had a really quick turnaround time?
No.
You mean like it's only
from the self-titled to this album releasing?
No. I think you're thinking of the deluxe. I think because they released the deluxe recently.
Yeah, probably.
Last year they released the deluxe.
I think it could also be that 2023, at least to me, felt like a blur.
Yeah.
And that, like, I haven't really been existing for the past year and a half. I don't know if that's just a me issue, but...
All right, Jake, I want to hear the synopsis.
All right, so story time. Things are different now. I think this album in the lyrics, it gets a lot deeper into the themes of a breakup, but I feel like this album is telling the story of trying to process leaving a relationship or a friendship behind. Lose My Composure kind of says it in the name. You're losing your composure from this breakup happening. And then Wish You the Best really dives into the toxicity and the attachment of someone that you were previously in love with, and you're trying to create distance, but now that they aren't a part of your life, you still kind of miss them being there anyway. I only wish you the best, even though you're the worst. And when I'm feeling depressed, I miss the way that it hurts. I love the vocal delivery of that as well. You get into Concrete Closure and Medicate Me, which kind of continues to dive into the self-loathing aspect of it. Over Me is, again, talking about still just processing the grief of thought that you'd grow old with me, now you're over me, and still kind of in disbelief of the breakup actually happening. And then you finally get towards the back half of the album with Frozen and Never Bloom, where it's feels like you're frozen, stuck in my mind, flooded with emotions, blurring the lines. And then you get into Never Bloom, where I think Never Bloom is the song where you kind of flip the switch and start to process everything. Tell me the reason I don't believe it, don't know where to lay the blame, try to be so strong, look at me choke on words I never got to say. So I'm interpreting this as if, I know Never Bloom is about, I want to say Matt's grandfather who was dealing with dementia or Alzheimer's. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's a very personal song, and I feel like it holds that meaning. But I feel like in the context of the album, if we are playing along with the idea of this being about a relationship breaking up, Never Bloom kind of serves as the moment on the album where you recognize and accept that things are over. And yeah, from there you enter the back half of the album, and I kind of didn't piece together any lyrics from the back half because I haven't resonated. Like the stretch of Aware, Disarm the Hourglass, and Elusive Dream lyrically, I haven't connected with as much. But then you get into Sacrifice, which is basically like, it's about sacrifice and what are you willing to give up for like a brighter future is kind of how I interpreted it. And given the unique song structure of it as well, it really feels like triumph in that acceptance, whereas Never Bloom is like the sad side of the acceptance. You get to Sacrifice and it's like you've processed the acceptance a little more and realizing that things are different now. Things aren't going to be the same. Things don't have to be the same, and you can move on. So that's kind of the story that I've pieced together. Again, it's not super conceptual in the same way of Take Me Back to Eden or however many other concept albums, a lot of stuff that Valiant Hearts has done, that sort of. But I feel like there's a very loose story going on here about relationships and friendships and love, the toxicity and negativity that can surround it. So that's my spiel. I think I've said just about everything I wanted to say about this album. And while I said Lakeview was my most played album of the month, that's simply because I had more days in the month to listen to the 18 songs on this album. If we're looking at the whole year, I have absolutely spent more time with Rain City Drive and expect that I will be spending a lot more time with this album going into October and the remainder of 2024.
Great album.
Fantastic album. Great's doing it not enough justice.
Alrighty, one more.
We have Destroy, Rebuild Until God Shows with their new album, Until God Shows.
Their third self-titled.
Their third self-titled.
Which is really impressive.
Yeah, the next one is just going to be called Destroy.
I think this is a step down from their 2022 album. With that being said, I don't think it's a significant step down. I think there's still a lot to like on this album.
I need to go back. But
I have very fond memories of songs
generally,
like Destiny and Gravity, My Ever Ghost, and Satellites in Motion. But similarly on this album,
and
I have very strong feelings. Yeah. I have strong feelings. Hunger Pangs is still my favorite song on here. It Follows has really grown on me. And then Crawl From Under is the album closer. I think is also phenomenal. Two Hand Touch in the middle of the album. Headcase, the bass in Headcase, that shit slaps. Yeah, there's a lot to like here. Now, Justin, I know that you were pleasantly surprised by this album, so I want to give you the floor to go into more detail here.
I mean, you already mentioned what songs I liked and enjoyed, so I was really surprised about this album. I had listened to a little bit of the prior album, but I don't remember anything off of it.
I think you'd like it.
Probably.
Yeah, I really think you would like it.
I don't know. Maybe my taste changed. Maybe Tapestry has finally gotten down my skull so I can enjoy it.
Like I said, I think you're becoming more open to heavier things.
I also think I was clouded by Tapestry last year, which kind of makes sense. So
was it last year or the year before?
The Tapestry was last year.
No, sorry, the Drugs album.
2022. So 2022 was stacked for me. There was no way this was getting anywhere near close. But yeah, like of the albums that I have enjoyed this month, this is probably the one that I've been able to listen to front and back the most. And it's weird because like Rain City Drive exists, but For some reason, just this sound, I really liked the post-hardcore sound with the clean vocals that Craig had in this. Like it was super good. I really liked it. My favorite and most played song off this album, I think, is It Follows, just because that's so catchy. But I think probably my favorite maybe Malice. I'm still torn on between those two. Like that run between the two songs is just really, really good for me. Yeah, I definitely gotta go listen back to that album because I don't remember anything off of it. And if it's comparable to this, and you guys are saying this is a step down for whatever reason, like, yeah, I definitely gotta give this one, the 2022 album, a shot. But I really enjoy this. I think that it's got some pretty good highs, but I don't know if it's something that I'm gonna be listening after the recency bias, because we've only had this like a week.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be surprised if you enjoy their 2022 album less. I feel like that album was a bit heavier than this one. I feel like Craig leans more into his clean vocals here. Yeah.
I think it's not as heavy. Maybe I'm going crazy. It's been a while since I heard it.
Yeah.
I think of songs like the Longest Road and Gravity and The Arm, and
maybe it's just that the songs that I remember best from their 2022 album were the heaviest ones.
That
Maybe
sounds
I'm
like you.
biased from that.
Destiny is
Yeah,
pretty
probably.
heavy.
Yeah, Destiny. My favorite, so yeah. You got me.
Derek, did you listen? Please tell me you did.
I didn't. I'm sorry.
It's a decent album.
I am going to listen just by virtue of I need to find out who's right about it being better, same, or worse than their last album, because I really enjoyed that last album.
If you, for whatever reason, haven't heard of Drugs yet,
They have 3 self-titled albums.
Don't take that out of context, please.
Oh, I've heard of Drugs.
If you haven't heard of this band before, if you enjoy post-hardcore, you absolutely will find something to love here. This is quintessential post-hardcore as far as I'm concerned.
And sometimes leans into metalcore.
Yeah, sometimes. Catchy melodies, fantastic vocals across the board, great instrumentation, a lot of variety in instrumentation. You get moments where the bass shines, you get moments where the guitar riff shines. Yeah, there's a lot to like about this one for sure. And with that, I'm glad that I left out VSU and Our Hollow Our Home. We can wrap this one up under 3 hours, fellas.
We did it.
Wowza.
Good work, everyone. Great work, everyone.
With the half-hour concert section, too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We have 2 more monthly recaps until award season.
That's crazy to think about.
Dude, I have no idea what my list looks like this year. I honestly have no idea. I'm like, in the past maybe 3 years, I like knew what I was gonna put as my number 1. I had no idea.
Yeah, I still don't really know what mine's gonna be.
I have 0 idea.
Like, in years past, you fill out my top 5 with Future Palace, Mothica, Stand Atlantic, Rain City Drive, and fucking Bad Omens. If you want to count the deluxe album that they dropped this year, and that's like, that checks out. That is not what my top 5 is looking like this year, I can tell you that much.
You know what? I just need Sleep Token to drop an album before the end of the year, then I'm set.
Seems like they're starting a new European tour soon. So,
I bet we get a single. I think we get a single next month. I would not be surprised. Because they do every 2 years, and it's almost been... It's a year and a half now.
There were definitely a lot of albums this month. I don't feel like October is going to be as insane. There's a couple of notable albums coming out next month. But I don't feel like anything nearly on the level of what we had to deal with this month. I know I'm looking forward to Fever 333. They're dropping their first new album in 5 years tomorrow, actually. So I'm curious to give that a listen. And then there's a couple other bands that we haven't talked about on the podcast before that I believe are dropping some new albums next month that I'm
Enemy drops theirs next week.
Yep.
And
so yeah.
Also a reminder, we reviewed CANTERVICE. Go watch that.
Yes. Yeah,
Agreed.
we got the album early from CANTERVICE, so we aren't talking about it in this episode. But you can go find the album discussion we did for the debut album that they just dropped, 0 Hour, on YouTube. Not going to be up on Spotify and other podcast platforms because it's only a little clip that we did. But yeah, that's going to wrap up our September 2024 recap. Be sure to follow us on social media at Hivemind Radio _ on Instagram and Twitter to keep up to date to when we are going live and when these episodes are going out on streaming platforms. We live stream all of our monthly recaps, so you can come hang out in the Twitch chat with us and talk about new releases as we talk about them live, share your thoughts on any of the best new music of the month. And yeah, be sure to stay tuned because as we approach the end of the year, award season is coming up, and every year award season is a lot of fun to put together. So,
and we've got something special planned this year.
Mm-hmm.
The new.
We do?
Yes. I'll inform you after, Justin. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you for listening. We will see you next month.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.